nothing more. I'm not going to do any stance work, I'm not going to do anything with this, just make it as simple and as obvious as I can with the mechanics of the lock. Slide my hands in, remove my grip. Take hold, pull down, and twist down. So again, come up like a mirror. I don't go all the way, I don't want him to release. I take hold, pull down. Now the mechanics of it are simple. I'm going to drop down, and this shoulder drops, then I know I've got the movement. So I'm dropping my hand, the shoulder's gone, I know I've got the control through the body, and I'm going to twist down. Okay. Obviously if you feel it, tap out, but you won't need to tap out every time, because the skill of a good practitioner is that they can take it to the point they know they've got control of the body, they don't need to tap. Other things to do from here is to move in and to cover as well, so you're also protected as you do it. So let's just start off with this one simply, we'll build on it as well. So just going to look at this lock again, do's and don'ts. The lock itself relies on a compression here, which will then bring the person's shoulder forwards and it'll probably cause them to arch, alright? We need that compression, it actually forces the lock. If you start grabbing hold here like this, you actually then restrict the movement of that joint and then therefore stop the lock from happening. So you want to make sure that we're far enough away, in tight, and even if you have to use the fingers or higher up to get the lock. If you offer a little resistance, if I try and fold this in, yeah, I could probably do it. I've got more strength in this direction than Adam does. But if I lower it, it actually forces the angle to appear as it goes lower anyway. So the drop down is going to force that angle. Forcing that angle is what we need to achieve. And when we have that, then we twist down. Okay, the same thing works from a fist. So if you make a fist like this, if I have hold of that fist, it's harder, much harder for me to turn this in. Right? If you offer me resistance, it's much harder for me to bend it. Right, maybe I can bend it. Okay, but to make it work rather than me use too much force, I keep a tight hand on the fist and I lower it, and eventually it will give at that point. So try it from the fist. Here, hold it high, start high, elbows close to the body, bring the arms down, you can sink with the legs, you can lean a little bit, and that's how you produce the power for that lock. So one more time, don't cover, and if it is a fist, just tie it on, and if you want to bend it without force, you have to just lower the hand. So let's work through some other variations. In fact, if you grab a crossover grip, we're just going to take the person to the other side. So crossover to the opposite side. I can't do that. That would lead me onto a different joint lock. I'm just going to raise up, twisting out this way. I can do a little finger breaker on the way through, pull down this way, and then turn. So up, take my hand underneath, use the thumb on the back of the knuckles is always a good way to control. Avoiding the wrist joint with my fingers, and then repeat on this side. Pull down on the fingers this way. It's all about not just my movement, but my movement in relation to my opponent. If I turn this way, I'm avoiding contact with that hand. I'm also giving myself the chance to break through the fingers, and then more momentum over here. If it's this one, here I have to dodge in and low to avoid any additional punches. So let's just try a crossover. Okay, so we're just going to look at this, you got this first slide, we're just going to look at this again in detail, okay? Like I said, none of this is in the heat of the action, none of this is a real fight, this is just academic and to show you how it works. When you apply it for real, if you were to be in a situation, you have to be a bit more fluid. Okay? You have to adapt it to fit. But if I use my thumb, I put my thumb on top of this knuckle here, the centre knuckle, it's a good starting point. Okay? So wherever it is, maybe you can grab underneath like that, however it goes, as long as my thumb goes there, then I've got a good marker, you see? So as long as it goes anywhere like that, then I've got a good marker to reach and grab hold of the fleshy part of the thumb. Okay. In small, in short, here, grab. As I turn it out, I use my body, use my leverage, I can then apply pressure down on the fingers. Okay. Here, through the fingers, and then you can grab the fingers at that point to twist down. So if you want to grab the other side, I put my thumb here, grab hold over, rake through the fingers, and then I can strike, I could grip, I could elbow. I do avoid grabbing the fingers to lock. Some people do it, and it works really effectively. But if it's slippery, it goes. So, yeah, here, rake through, and slap in. What we're going to do is we're working with a punch. We can do it slowly. So if you punch in, I'm going to go to meet it tight, quick, because I don't want his arm to escape. If we play act in slow motion, okay, then you pull it back like a boxer would, right? This isn't going to work. Okay. But if I'm slamming in and I'm in tight and I find myself in a closed position, or somehow an arm has presented itself to me, then I need to gain control. Using the armpit here like this is a good way of gripping, just as using the elbow joint is a good way of gripping, just as your hands are. So all this stuff counts, and I'm protected, and I'm in close. And from me, his hand's not going to go anywhere. He could try and back fist me. Right, okay, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to grab hold then, and I'm going to swing this one out this way. Okay, so we're going to work on that rotational movement. Now, it doesn't necessarily rely on that drop-in motion where we collapse it. It doesn't rely on that anymore, because the twist in itself is enough. So even if you keep a tight fist, the rotation here will force the person over eventually. And if the forearm doesn't move, the twist here is going to force the two bones to start to cross more. Eventually it would rip through on the cartilage. So from the punch, drive into it, inside, pin it, control it. I've got this guard. I'm all one way, which isn't great in a fight to be facing behind a person, but it's going to force me to rotate through and twist this direction for the lock. Let's touch on this again. Each joint lock you're going to learn today will affect previously what you've learned, but let's just touch on some simplistic parts of this we need to look at. If his elbow's straight and I'm rotating this, there's a lot of strength there, okay? It's not going to be easy to tap the person out, but if you bend your elbow and I do the same thing, it goes on quicker and easier. So try it with your partner, offer a little resistance, and rotate here. Takes more force, bend the elbow, do the same, it goes on a lot quicker, a lot easier. Okay? The angle of the joint and the socket and the leverage that you produce this way is much more efficient. Later on we'll look at a lock we're going to call the A lock. You produce it with your arms this way. But just try it now, because when you apply this joint lock, it's okay, sure, it's on the wrist still, but the moment that elbow's bent, it goes on quicker and easier. So when I catch in and I'm here, part of this movement is for me to drop that down to then gain that position as I come. Okay, so we're going to look now at something a bit more fun. It's not realistic in terms of it ever really happening, but it's quite classic in the martial arts. If you grab hold of my wrists, how to apply two at the same time. I'm going to come over, I reach over and grab. As it releases, I grab hold of the thumb. So I find myself in this position which I would never really find myself in. It's interesting to academically play on this. So I rotate out. The same principles apply. It is hard to apply this to someone that resists, but I'll show you how to do it. First of all, you have to create enough tension forwards to drop the shoulder, but his whole body's going to go in one go, so it actually gives him a kind of structural support. So the way to do it is not to twist in, because I can't twist my elbows in with any strength this way. The way to do it is hold this position tight, and just to slowly pull the arms apart. Yeah, see how it works? Yeah, of course you have to tap this with your foot. Flick it over. Obviously this would never really happen, but it's an interesting concept to apply, that I need to create the force outwards to find a lock. So just with one hand from here, not only do I need to turn, I need to also twist this way too. So I need to pivot on this angle. Actually, if you put your arms straight, I'm perpendicular to this joint. I also need to do a rotation on this line to make it more effective. So when it's bent and it's here, stepping in is not enough. That's what happens with most beginners when they do it. They actually stretch the wrist out as they step in. What we want to do is keep the arm and kind of scoop underneath when you apply the lock. Okay, it's a complex one, but I have to find a right angle, then I have to make my rotation on that right angle, no matter where my wrist is. If my wrist is this way, I have to rotate this way. Marissa's this way, I have to rotate this way. The illusion is that the rotation has to be here, because the illusion of martial arts is, they tell you, everything comes from a waist turn. Yeah, it does, but this is also a waist turn too. So as I apply this in its most simplistic form that we've done today, I've changed the angle. Now the angle of his wrist, his hand is pointing up on a diagonal. I can't just turn out, it actually allows the lock to weaken. I need to scoop it under to apply that lock. But we explore this one with the double one, like this, by pushing out, forcing the outward rotation. Down, simplest way is that to avoid pain, the person's going to move their body. If I keep on going, eventually he'll move his body down and I'll take him over. Okay, most martial arts that involve rolling probably teach this one, maybe with the exception of judo, but probably had it once. So step it out, whip it through, and take the person down. If you want to improve the force and the power of it, obviously making a bigger circle makes a larger, more powerful lever. It's also more polite to your partner. If I step out big, I make a big circle, it gives you plenty of room to roll. If, on the other hand, I was really trying to apply it tight, I'd slam it down like this, and it'd force a kind of either somersault style move or a dislocation of some description. Right, so be nice, make a big circle, take the person down gently, let them do a bit of a roll, get a feel for how it is to control. Okay, so we're going to work through some of these variations. If you do it again, the person locks you, yeah, that's it. I'm going to come through, I'm going to reach over, I'm going to push here. We talk about doing a figure four after this point. I can figure four this way, or if it's more difficult, you know, to get here, I can just reach across, put it on in this way. We're going to come back and look at that figure four again in a moment, okay? I just wanted to go through some other counters to this one. Yeah. So here, like this, I can shoot in. Yeah, it doesn't matter if the elbows up or up. I can shoot through. So if you put it on here, I'm going to shoot through this way, and then I'm going to hook over this direction. Okay? It's not something that can be done easily if someone's resisting, unless you follow what their energy is. But I am hitting here. I'm also controlling. If you make a strong arm, I'm controlling the body through his arm at this point here. I've also got my legs in, and I'm going to step through and sink. Here, shoot through, hit, hook, reach around, and then headlock this way. Okay, so just through. But if you forget about the lock for the moment, just push him through. If you put lock on, put it on, twist me out. Yeah, this motion here is enough to remove the grip. Now, if you use battling for that lock now, really go for it. Okay, it requires a lot of force. It's difficult, and I've got his head here, so there's an advantage. If he lost one hand, I've gained one. Okay, and if you can, hook around behind. But it may require a little jump if the person's taller than you. So we're going to explore some of the counters now. It's all good knowing a joint lock, but it's our way of working for a process. We do a counter to a counter, and so on and so forth. It gets a little abstract, but that's how you will find yourself in a martial situation. So if Adam applies this to me, there's different ways to do the technique. Just a standard one, yeah. Just turn it out, right. So that's the basic what we're going for. Ways in and out of it are not letting him bend my wrist, so straightening it up, or as you go through the movement, twisting it out, moving in, so my elbow becomes almost straight and my body isn't in the way of his application, or just pushing long. Like this. So there's kind of standard ways out, but they're pointless. If someone wrestles through it, they're bigger and stronger than you, they will get you. So we're going to put it into something a little bit more effective. I'm going to punch through. I'm going to punch in. Now if you were to do it and raise that elbow, so we've got something here, I'm going to come across this way. Okay, makes sense? So again, yeah, sorry, here like this, yeah, there, I'm going to come through. I'm going to hook underneath. I'm going to put my hand under his jaw. okay, or at least I'm going to put my arm around his shoulder. Now, if you hold tight, it's hard for me to release that, but this has twisted my elbow, made it strong in this direction. I'm going to push down, grip tight, don't let me go. I'm going to push down, okay, which isn't enough to let go of the person, but combine it with the head movement back is going to force him to release his grip. It's very hard to hold on, and the body is twisted like this. So I'm going to reach over, I would be hitting him at the same time. I'm going to reach over, I'm going to hook underneath, here. I'm going to push up and push down at the same time, stretching the person out. It's weak, it's a very weak lock. What I'm doing to him is it's a weak position, here. But the moment I can get around that, then I can go into a figure four. So if we come a little bit this way, here like this, yeah. You go to lock me, and come in, yeah. I'll grab hold, I'll apply the pressure, and I'll sneak behind the person for that figure four. Let's not worry about the figure four yet. Yeah, that's it. Put it on. Here, like this, and then just release it. Okay, let's try that. There's different ways to do it. If it's in close to me, and like that, that's when he's going to be going for the headlocks and everything, so it's actually in range. You know, so you could slide in this way, or behind, yeah, or if you go the other way, behind, it fits nice and neat, okay? If I'm applying a lock like this on him, that's not going to be as efficient, okay? I'm going to see it coming, and I'll have more control. So those ones only really work if someone's doing a tight, shallow, powerful one, okay? If someone goes for a longer one, we have to change our leverage. So if you go for a long one, so you're stepping back slightly or holding it off, there, it gives me more room to resist, actually. I can resist a lot stronger from here. And I can also start then trying to attack and control the hands. If I was to escape from it, then I'd be aiming to grip, control, and stop him from bending this. If you put it on, really well. It's obvious, push really hard. As long as I push back against those bones, the bones in the back of my hand are a lot stronger than this thumb coming in. Thumbs are okay, but they're not that strong, are they? I could do push-ups on the back of my hand. It's very hard to push ups against their thumbs. Okay. It's a stage further from the lock here. So I'm going to use my hand to grab in, so I've locked my fingers together. Okay. If you come around this way at an angle, you can see that Adam's fingers are here. Even though it's quite low down, which would inhibit my lock, which is fine, you know, that's fine. I'm going to pinch his fingers into my hand, into lock. So then, I can then start, if you let go of this hand so you can see, I can then start producing some finger locks that are tight in this position. I can go this way, or to the side, either way is good. That's it, here. I'm going to grab hold, apply the pressure, and then control through his fingers. So, pulling the finger back, obviously it's going to snap it, and pushing it down, we'll have some resistance, pushing it up, same thing. So, from here, if you just have one finger, that would be ideal, because you do more damage on one finger than two. Two fingers, you'll control the person's posture. So, again, no matter how many you get, as long as you get some, and you can press and you push, you've got some control, you can then start twisting out. But what I want you to work on is, once you escape from this, obviously find the fingers, but then start applying some other lock from there, which we're going to touch on later on. Here, come over, we will do this lock later on in the series, but it's our second starting point. So here, push in, into lock, push forwards, gain some control of the fingers, and either out this way or down. Okay, still working through these as if the lock produces the counter to the counter. So back to this position, you lock me, okay, and if you hold it there, okay, I can hit you easily. Chances are you probably raise this up. If you don't, it doesn't matter. Okay, if it's down, it's no big deal. But I'm going to maneuver my body close and underneath. For this position, the lock's not on anymore. Okay, it's too close to my body. He's going to have to change his direction of force to make it work. And while I'm in this position, I'm going to slide in and grab hold. I'm going to wrap this right around to its maximum movement into here. I'm going to grip hold. I'm going to pin it to me. So if you let go for a moment so you can see, I'm going to pin it tight to me. I'm going to come back, taking the elbow high into this position. The tension through the wrist is quite a lot, but I will reinforce that with the other hand too. So up, in, I'm coming close. I'm going to scoop through, even if it's down, it doesn't matter. Put it really low. I just have to turn in more. I'll put it against my shoulder. If you hold on, there's a lot of force going through that already. I've got the fingers there, if I needed them. I'm going to reinforce, double, and I'm going to turn back here. Keep it a bit loose so you can see, so just relax into it so they can see. Take the hand off, take hold. I call this one the baseball bat. So it's like I'm swinging a baseball bat, and this will come through. Done slowly, the person will move. But done at force, the person doesn't have time to move, and it'll damage them. But what we need to achieve is, it needs to be flat to the body. So this arm needs to be straight up. There. Okay, it needs to be right angle, and the rotation has to go with it. So if you grab, if I grab you here, I'm going to come in tight. I'm going to pin it to me. I'm going to grab hold of the arm on this one. I'm going to swing through and twist. Right, so we call this one the baseball bat movement. Other variation is if I grab the wrist, which works just as well, but it's not quite the same as a baseball bat. It's like a smaller version, so I call it rounders. For those English people that know what the game rounders is. I think Americans do call it softball. So from here, twist, push through. If you wanted to maximize that force, you'd step with it and bring it through this way, forcing the person to have friction against your leg so the person will lock on quicker. So I'll show you it from here. I'm in this position. I come in like this. It removes the lock. I reach underneath. I grab hold, I pin it to my shoulder, and then I'll just turn it back. Right, give it a go. Some more variations on this. So if we go through it slowly from here, this position, okay? Just relax it. I can explain it. So this position here, we have some options. If I'm going to come through this way and put my shoulder to him, from here I have more than just the baseball bat one. If I come in with power, and here, then I've got an elbow lock this way, which we're going to look at later. Yeah. Obviously, I've got this one comes through, but if I can't raise it up enough, I can slide it through here into a chicken wing. So if we come around to this side, if I can't get it to fully work, then I can produce it up to the chicken wing here like this. I can also produce the goose head as well, which we'll be covering these again later. So from here, options are, I come in, I elbow lock, I baseball bat, rounders, baseball bat, come in close, fold it, I've got a chicken wing, I've got the compression with the goose head, I've also got what we call clipping the wings, which is to push out this way. So either way, I just want you, just for a little bit of time, just have a play with what you've got to see what you can make work. Okay? Until it becomes fluid and works with the movement. But we will come back and revisit them all in detail. Okay, so we're gonna go back and we're gonna take ourselves, if you put it onto me, through a few of these in detail. So what we will do is we'll work on armbar. Okay. We'll work on the figure 4 technique, and we'll also work on the chicken wing. But I'm going to teach you them independently and without the grip. So let's first of all work on the figure 4. I like to teach the figure 4 from a punch. I like to pat it out of the way and shoot through this way. From this position we have lots of variations. The one we're going to work on is ideally that I can reach over and this hand's not here and this hand's not guarding the throat, but if it is, there's ways to deal with it and it's the maximum. So from here, it's like I'm going to punch through, I'm going to shoot through, I'm going to jump over. The main thing is my armpit goes above his shoulder. So if I'm shorter, I've just got to jump. get my joint here into his throat, which will add some compression. My hand comes around, goes onto my shoulder, or my arm back and reach. The lift up is actually going to tense this up. Put my hand on the back of his head so he doesn't lean backwards. I put my head against my hand so he doesn't go anywhere. And then I can press. I also want to drop the person down. I want to go low and squeeze. Okay, so nice and slow. If you stand here, that's this. Punch, shoot, and jump through like this. My body come around, take hold, tight, place my hand on his head, place my head against there, and then I just compress. Okay, so the principle is this. His neck's this big. I make a triangle with my arm here, and I want to squeeze his throat here. Now I want no gaps, so I come around, I pull it in, I grab hold as high as I can, and from here I've got maybe a 35-degree angle. But as I raise my hand up, it actually forces that angle to tighten up and go smaller. So this joint, the angle changes, and I lock that in place, my elbow's in tight, so there's no room. Put my hand against his head, which forces his head forwards a little bit. That's not the reason why it's there, it's so that he can't head back against me. I put my head against my hand, it's a very tight space here, and then I just squeeze. Shoot through, and move around, come in, sink, and squeeze. Okay, let's try this. If you punch the same way as you were, I'm going to show you a one-arm version. I'm going to shoot through here. Now, I have to get that upward motion, but I'm going to do it with my head and my spine. I'm going to go, I can't just put my hand on my head easily, okay? It depends on the size of the person I'm against. I'm going to drop my head down. I'm going to grab hold of the back of my head, and then as I raise up, I apply the lock. Okay. Shoot through, onto the back of my head, and then as I raise up, I apply that lock. If we do the other side, you can see here, I shoot through this way, and go to the back of my head. Now I would sink, but I'm going to loosen off so you can get the other version. Yeah. So one is the compression, and the other one is the angle of the spine being shifted. If you try it with your own head, there's not much movement this way. So you're going to try and lift the person this way as well as compress. So if you punch into my channel here, and come through, forget the compression for the moment, but change the angle of the spine or working on compression. Alright, let's try it. Alright, so against the one that's a little bit taller than you, it's hard to apply this one. If you punch in, Paul, like this, for me to come through like this, it's either I'm going to have to jump or do some other technique. Okay, so we're going to explore some of these other techniques. So if you punch in, I'm going to go underneath this time. I'm going to shoot my hand through. Now there's different ways to grip. This one's a good one. You could look at things. You could grab hold. I'm going to go for this one. I'm going to do the same compression here. I'm going to pull it down into my neck. So if we do the other side, pop it through, hit through this way, grab hold. I use the blade of my arm into the side of his neck, and compress. What I'm aiming to do is push his shoulder into his neck, drive my forearm into this side, and I do the same movement. If I'm using this part, up like this, grab hold, and it's that motion. The kind of movement you would use if you're pulling yourself up, because you need to pull this person down. So once I get it, get tight, elbows are close, I sink, I drive, and I push in. Okay, that's one variation. Right, let's try it. Okay, next one's another variation. If you punch in the same as before, if I do pat it down, I'm not going to make it around, or you can use this if your figure four was to go wrong. But I'm in the same position as I would be to start the figure four without jumping around. I do the same style movement. I can push my shoulder into the top part of his, bottom part of his jaw, and then the lower bit of the neck on the other side. And I can create the compression that way. Here, through, in. And what I would do to get more pressure this way, I'll use my own head. Okay, which is fairly unpleasant, right? So if we do the other side, so you can see, I've got a compression here, and here. So I've got the jaw with my shoulder, I've got lower down. I'm going to add to that force by putting my head against this head too. Again, here. And then if you look at the line of my body is long and strong, or else with enough force, if I have hold of him, pull strong. If he was to stand up, probably be able to lift me no problem off the floor. If I've got this length here, my weight's distributed, and he's off balance, it's harder for him to counter with the lift. So the punch comes in, shows Adam because he's now we're on a level. I come through, I was going to go for this one. Okay, now ideally I'm going to go for a technique that's going to cause pressure between the two temples. I come in, I pin, I use my thumb, I wedge it in on both sides, okay? So here, just come in, get my head into his temple, get my thumb into his temple, and then compress. Just another variation. If I go for this doesn't work, his hands in, I'm struggling, I'm fighting, whatever. It doesn't take much just to put my thumb in place and add the compression. Yeah, anything? Right. Once we're here, if it doesn't work, if something doesn't work, you've got to change it. So stick your hand in the way, stick that hand in the way. This is how it's going to be. So I've got to force a way with this. Okay, but I do have a free hand, and he doesn't know what's going on with this. So maybe this one's coming over. If I have a hand trap, it doesn't matter, because it's always the temple. Somehow or other, the temple would be enough for him to, if I pushed it hard, to try and fight back and release, and his hands are going to go, and I can slide into the lock. So the temple is a trigger to cause the person into a panic. Okay, obviously it's not like stuff you'd see in the ring. There's no sports to this. This is manipulation of the body to make the person have a certain result. So using the thumb like this against the temple is successful. And you're pretty much there, aren't you, anyway? Alright, let's try it. Alright, so back to this again. From here, I'm now going to explore the chicken wing. Okay? But the way to teach the chicken wing more simplistically is just from a grip. And I think the crossover is the easiest one. So there's a classic way and there's a more complex way. The classic way is come around, grab hold, walk around the person, and push it up the back. But for a lot of people, they have a lot of flexibility, and actually, the angle of my wrist is strong here. As it goes up, it becomes weak, and it's very hard to apply the lock. So, if you are going to do it the classic way, go low and lift up. Okay, I'm going to get you to do this, even though I don't really think much of this star technique. It's important you understand how it works. But if you go low, and if you push up and keep a strong fist, it'll work using the power from your leg. Right, let's try this. So we're going to work on my preferred version of this, which is to come through and to use the arm to fold in and bring the person into you. Now, from here, if you're just moving around a little bit, I don't know, there we go, so you can see. I'm going to pin tight here like this. Now, I'm still in a weak position, but I've got my other hand. Okay, my other hand can pull up and in. Okay, but if we do it again, I'm also going to apply this grip here, which I find more successful. So I can pull it in, I can apply the goose head, I can push up like this, it's all even, and I can apply a variation, which is if you loosen your arm so you can see, it loses space. I'm going to pull it this way, away from the body, forcing the scapula out. It will force a dislocation. Obviously, you've got to do it very gently. But from here, I can really wrench that arm. And this does look like a chicken wing. But if you imagine you've bought yourself a pre-packed chicken cooked, and you want to get that wing off to eat it, that would make more sense. It's not uncomfortable for the chicken, but it is the moment the wing comes off. Alright, so let's try this one. Alright, so we're going to look at the goose lock itself. Now, when we're in the chicken wing here, then I will hook this one into this position. But I'm going to show you how to find it normally. So, all it is it's a compression in, and that's all. When we did this one, it's the same as that, except putting tension through the wrist in the opposite direction. So that's the motion. Now, this is obvious stuff for most people, but it's good to clarify things simply so people understand. If you relax, if I push in, you say, oh, you know, it's not working. Why isn't it working? Yeah, because I need to have resistance through the joint. Once I have hold of something, I can root this end, then I can create the tension and the compression. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to just show you a few variations that you can play with to make it work, and it'll give you a sense of finding the body's own natural way of stopping itself. So from this position, grab hold, sink underneath, lift it up, and keep going. Yeah? Like that. Or this way. If the person goes up, you can always grab the toe. Okay, so try that. Once you can do that, then you get a sense of how it works. Obviously, that's not going to be very effective in a fight. You'd be hitting me and stuff. But if I did end up in this position, one good hit is enough to force the arm into that position. There's ways to break people's wrists without intending to like that. Or even if he's pushing me, just using my body against his hand can be an effective way to control the person. Obviously, don't use this if you... Okay, so we're going to now look back from our starting position. That's right, you're right. There we go. From here, I'm going to work on this lock, but the specific process of making it work. And I like to teach it from a push. So the person's going to push, and they're going to push through, and with enough force for me to turn. So give me a big shove, and don't be polite, go for it. Okay. Even more so with a whole, there we go. It's enough to turn me. And if I was to catch him right, just there is enough to hit the elbow. So if I offer some resistance and I turn, that's a lock in itself. It's open to weakness at this point, but at speed, that's all I need. But I am going to turn this in a bit more simple so we can understand how it works. I'm going to rotate the hand over. I'm going to raise it up. I'm going to step in front. I'm going to sink down. I'm going to work on some angle. I'm going to push against him. I'm going to get my back at this angle here. So it's in line, should be perpendicular to his arm. I'm on the joint. I offer some pressure down, which will be good, but he will start to come over. So I have to also then push back up with the arm. Very quick there.
Yes, all right.
Over, sink, lean, long, and back. So I'm doing this movement. Here I turn, I place, I rotate, come over, and push back. We'll put that one on, then we'll work on some variations. Some more variations on this. So if you push in, I twist, I'm going to come over. I'm just going to drag down on the fingers. As I'm leaning and bringing them onto me, I'm going to be pushing back here like this, but I'll also push back with the fingers too. If you want to make it a little bit more effective, all the fingers combined are pretty strong, but let's just put it into one. Yeah? Just one finger. So just arch it around. Okay, so we've got a variation here. The spin, he's going to push, I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to keep turning. Okay, now, if I catch his elbow bent, like he's trying to return to a guard, then there's a spin there. Alright, that's not very pleasant.
No.
So we push again, even if the elbow is straight, I'm going to keep on turning. And eventually, it's going to be on the back of my neck. I've got one here. So let's put a little fun one in, and a kind of crucifix style. I'm going to turn and spin, hook around. I'm going to apply pressure here. Putting your foot on the person's foot's good, stops them from moving, grab and hold, and then just putting the pressure on evenly. So just take one hand all the way, wrap it around, and then just drive it through. So this technique is going to reoccur throughout the whole of these videos. You push, I'm going to bend your elbow a little bit. Okay, that's the position we're going to be going for. So the variation would be that he pushes the elbow slightly bent and driving, and then I'm going to spin. Okay, and I can do some work as well as that. Even from here, I can choose to wrap it down. Okay, and just you put the shoulder in that position. Now from there, obviously you could spin. You know, that's this one. If you keep spinning, Yeah, that's the way out of it. But in this case, my body's in the way, so it's a lot harder for him to escape from that. Alright, let's try it. Okay, next one's a bit of an unusual counter to these locks, these controls. You have to get in there first. You know what's going on, but you have to also then do your counter and let it play out. So if you come to me, I'm going to give you a push, you're going to do the twist, I'm going to go. Alright? All I'm going to do is, once I can feel him going, I'm going to go first. I put myself in this terrible position, but it's going to work out better for me in the long run. I'm going to hook hold his throat, yeah, like this. I'm going to put my body really low on him, and I'm going to throw him by his neck over. If I'm lucky, I'll get a twist on the spine this way. Yeah. So the moment you feel the person twisting and bending, you go. Because actually that position is going to stop him from locking you, whereas this position is going to go on. And we'll learn later when we work on the A-lock, but this is the weakest position, but this has got a lot more strength. So getting my hand into this position quicker is going to save me. Alright, let's try. Okay, so we're going to conclude the movement. I push, he spins. I may as well come up with both hands, and then I'll wrench it over this way. So as I push and he spins, I may as well just reach over and grab hold of my own hand. I can interlock my fingers. From there I can do whatever it is that I choose. But if he spins, then I've got this control here and over the top. So push, oh, it looks weak, grab. Whenever you feel yourself going into a weak position with one arm, it's always sensible to reinforce that technique. And if you pin it to you, you can make a strong triangle with the body. Triangle's the strongest shape we've got. So we're going weak, like a stick, which is easy to break. You go into a triangle form, and it's going to guarantee you to have a bit more strength, a bit more space. Alright, so let's try it then with the interlock. Okay, so we're going to work on the counters to the figure 4. So if you put me in the figure 4, like this, so we've already learned how to do this one. Now, it's hard to identify which hand's where if you're not used to it, but in time you get used to it. Now I know that this is his right hand, it's dominant. Okay, I'm going to put my hand on the outside of his elbow. Otherwise, if it's the other hand, I put my hand here. But it might be easier just to hold both. You can curl your fingers in and pull down at the same time. Okay, you're going to squat, place your neck into it so you're giving some force too. And I'm going to be turning him this way. Now, that's not enough. I need to control his balance and posture. So from here, I'm going to slide across and twisting him in. And put my hip against his hip. I'm going to lean so that he goes his weight onto me. I'm going to raise him up. And now, I'm not going to throw him over, I'm going to twist him out. That way. And that's going to force him into a joint lock on his shoulder, what we've done before, this same style movement. So, I identify the side, I go onto it, I pull it into me, drop my jaw, shift across. Now obviously if he's moving, I'm moving, it's a little bit harder. I lean him onto me, pick him up, and then rotate him out. Right, let's try this. Okay, so from the figure 4 again, obviously if the person's strong and bigger, it's going to take a different, it's going to take a degree of technique, but there are other options. You know, there are other options. Obviously the person's groins over one thing. There's other methods to do it. So from here, once we flip the person around, we're then going to combine the movement that we've already done before on the shoulder. I'm going to lean in with this side, and I'm going to lift up here. Yeah, so if we do it again, let's go from this side like that. You can see easier. I come around, pop the person around. I'm just going to drive down with the shoulder, and then I'll drive up with the arm. So one more time. If I did it properly, then I'll be putting the person on the floor with it, and then probably combining with the lock too. We're going to work now through this joint lock, which is this position. We've covered it a little bit before, alright? We're going to work it in its simple, classic way. I like to teach it from a grab to the shoulder, like this. It works based on the bending of the elbow. So I'm going to come over, as he keeps holding it, obviously if he lets go it would change. I push down like this, I square myself up, and I raise up like this. Okay, that's one way, simplest way. If you grab again, I can cover and come over. Sink down, walk it around, and raise up. Now that's not necessarily how you'd apply it at all, but it's the simplest and most abstract way. Okay, so give that one a go. Same one again, just a variation. Let's go from a grab. So from the grab like this, I'm going to come over and grip down and grip underneath. Now I'm going to push his elbow towards his hip, in, and I'm going to spin. Here, grip, spin. I'm going to do it lightly so I can get it at its maximum. There. Same thing. On the other side, grab like this, and twist. Alright, let's try that. Another variation from the same point, there's different ones, but I can come over here rather than grabbing here. I can just grab here, pull it inside, yeah, sorry, and then just roll it through and push up. That's another one. Or I can just grab long, in, and twist. So pretty much controlling here, using that as a lever is equally as powerful. So I can grab in, a full twist, pull down, and hook it around. Let's try that. So another variation on the same lock, we'll just do it from a push or a position where the person is holding like this. I'll show you two variations. We'll just do an inside one first, then we'll do a crossover outside one. The classic way is like the animal technique, like a crane, is to come up and over, pull in, and then do a crane beat. It looks rather nice, but in fact it's got a weakness to it. So from here, I'm just going to be guarding and through, and I'm going to interlock my fingers as much as I can like this, so it's strong. And then from there, I just use the two blades of my arm to create the lock. If you push this side, so from here and here, I just lean in, and I use this pull down on the arm to drop that, interlock the fingers, and then go through. Simple. In and down. Alright, let's try this. So another variation on the same lock, we'll just do it from a push or a position where the person is holding like this. I'll show you two variations. We'll just do an inside one first, then we'll do a crossover outside one. The classic way is like the animal technique, like a crane, is to come up and over, pull in, and then do a crane beat. It looks rather nice, but in fact it's got a weakness to it. So from here, I'm just going to be guarding and through, and I'm going to interlock my fingers as much as I can like this, so it's strong. And then from there, I just use the two blades of my arm to create the lock. If you push this side, so from here and here, I just lean in, and I use this pull down on the arm to drop that, interlock the fingers, and then go through. Simple. In and down. Alright, let's try this. Okay, so the same one again, from that push. This is really taught so that you can make sense of how it works, so you can find it. Okay, but really, in a fast situation, it's probably best just to grab and roll. Grab and roll, or however you want. I'll show you the other side. Feel like this. Just from here, just grip it strong. Yeah, this position here, hook it. It'll go on a lot quicker. The moment you make a grip, you've actually got some force. So something more powerful from a grip is always more useful. So try it, do it strong. Okay, so from this one, same lock, but we're going to push to the other side, or we're going to place on the other side. So it forces me not to be able to go this way because it wouldn't be efficient. Okay, I'm going to hit down and up and grab hold like this. It's actually an easier version like this. I'm going to grab hold, and I'll be grabbing on my own arm. I'll be turning over this direction. Okay, so if you push to the other side, it should make it easier. So I'm going to come, think about the best way to find it is like you're going to do some kind of upward block and some kind of downward chop. Grab hold, so you're strong. step it in. You get that twist. And then the hand that's already underneath is going to push over the top on your own arm to apply the lock. Now we're making a triangle shape here. It's a useful triangle shape. I'm going to put my elbow on his shoulder. So relax into it. Fine position. And put my elbow on his shoulder, and I'm making a shape here like a triangle or like an A. Block, grab, chop, over, grab again, and push down. If you look at the shape there, like that, you should see the letter A, capital. Coming up, there's a triangle, and there's the crossbar for the A. So we call this one the A lock. Oh, that's why I felt funny. Oh, anyway, it works. So here, like that. So what we're going to do is work on a little counter. So if you push me, let's split the arm so it's easier to see on the crossover, okay? We're doing the A like this, and what happens is sometimes an effective way of countering is for you to straighten your arm up, okay? And then I'm sort of struggling. But this can be used if I slide it down a little bit in. Obviously I've got to watch the person behind me. And I pin it here. I've then got an elbow lock with this downward force. So come across, I cover, I go for this one, you extend out, you can tilt it in, and then add the compression in. So we're back to this movement again, except this time it's under the armpit, so it's frozen. It's a classic one that you see it more this side actually. You see Dorman using this one to get people out of places. It's sort of safe relatively. If I put a little tension through the joint, it's hard for him to punch in at me. Yeah? And what will happen is sometimes you get a Dorman each side, and they just gently sort of hold the person and walk them out. It's not the greatest for causing injury to the person, but admittedly, it's enough if your lock goes wrong to then change it back on itself. The last thing he wants is for his elbow to be straight. So if you push me here, I bend your elbow, you straighten your elbow, I apply pressure so you want out of that one, so you fight back against that pressure, which would then take me with a bent elbow into some other lock. Okay, it's always from one flow to the next. Okay, so we're going to look at this one from the floor, so I'm going to go down the floor. So I'm just going to go in the mount position. This is a simple, easy way to teach it, but let's turn off slightly so you can see. So from the mount position, I'm going to assume that he's going to be punching up, I'm going to be punching down. And we're going to take an arm. So yeah, if you throw this one up, it's the same thing. Imagine I've got the crossover and I slide one over, one under. It's the easiest way to get it. Okay, so I'll teach it that way, but I'll do a more broken down version. So one up, one down, take the person over to the floor. I've got the A, I'll slide them on, I'll apply the pressure. But there's a process that I prefer to go through with that, which is if you punch up, I'm going to grab hold with two hands. Because if the person doesn't want to go, they can resist and you're fighting. I just lean myself over, I push them down, I change my hand over, one, like that. It makes my hand in a slightly weaker position, and I release this one, and I allow him to lift and push back up. And as he does that, it's an easy way to get my hand in. So again, grab, down, change my hand over, I weaken my grip, he lifts up to push up, I slide my hand underneath, grab hold, I pull in, elbow to shoulder, push his wrist into the floor, and then I lift up by leaning this way. So grab, slide, change over, the hand underneath, because they try and resist and pull up, I pull it in tight, pushing his wrist against the floor, and then twist, or from here I grab. If I take this hand over, and the same thing happens, then I get the elbow lock. Other variation is when this one goes in and this one goes on, I go for this one. If he wants to straighten that arm up, I've also got another elbow lock, but not as efficient. So we've got three options, but let's just look at the first one. Grab, double-handed like a baseball bat grip on the floor. Lean your weight onto the person, it's harder for him to escape. Change the hand closest to his head over. The grip on the wrist becomes weaker. It allows him some freedom to lift up, which is what we want. I reinforce, push back down, I can use my head if I need to, slide it in, and arch it through. Okay, so it's the same lock on the floor. Let's try it. Punch up. I'm going to grab with two hands, slide the base wax. I think it's the simplest way. Obviously, a higher speed, a higher level, I'll probably just go straight into it. But I'm just going to apply this one and shoot long. Now, the other variation is if this hand changes over and I drop it down and come underneath, then all I have to do is lift for a lock. Okay, I'm not going to be rolling this way, it wouldn't work. I'm just push down this way and lift my body up. So here, down, the way we did it a second ago, hand closest to his face changes, we go for the pull in. If the person refuses and straightens up, I can then leave it, but I have to leave in line with the joint, so the joint would hinge like this. I have to push that way rather than up. It feels like you should push up, that would not work as well, so I need to leave it in, but I can do a pull back on my arm and a push up to make that happen. That's one arm bar. The other one is to change this one, which means I'm only really going for that, nothing else. This would come underneath and it would apply that pressure, it would go straight up. If you were to counter and bend your elbow, well in that case, then I've got something else I could put in anyway. So let's try this. Add the arm over. Okay, so we're going to look at some arm bars and we're going to do it from the guard. So I'm going to be here, and Adam's going to be in my guard. Alright, I prefer to teach arm bars from this position because we've already covered a bit already. So if you put your hands onto me like this is a simple way to start, especially for the beginner. Alright, so I can choose which side it goes to, and I'm going to choose which arm I use. But I like to do it in a way which is completely general, so if you make a mess, you can easily fix it. So I'm just going to grab both arms and pull them into me. This is how I'm going to start. I'm going to turn to one side and then throw my legs over his head. I'm just going to push him down. Okay, I'm doing this the most broken down way I can think of. Now, I can look at the situation and think, actually, I can't armbar this one easily. Maybe I could armbar this way, but let's forget that one, right? Forget the arm. I've got this one here, strong and up. And there's different ways to do it. I think it's better to use the armpit, or even go for this block that we just did, and lean back as well. So we'll break it down into its simplest form. So again, in case I get it all wrong, I'm just going to grab both arms. I'm going to change one side or the other. We go this way to make it easy for you to see. I post up and push down. At this point, there's lots of things that could go wrong. Okay, but we're just going to look at one way and go right. But forget about this arm. I've got the elbow here against me. I could just lean back and push my hips off the floor like this. I can put my feet straight. I'm going to slide this one to the armpits. It gives me freedom of hands. If I'm being hit or something, slide it underneath. That's enough. Onto my own arm, that's enough. Put it in here, that's enough. All of it's good to get the control. So again, here, post up, and just apply the pressure back. Alright, that's the simplest way. Obviously, someone will be punching in, you don't know which hand it's going to be, you might turn the wrong way. That's it in its best and simplest and easiest way to do, but we'll work through some other variations. So, once you have this down, you can think about it. What if they're back, what if they're too close, what if things are different. I'm just going to grab, I'm going to turn to one side, I'm going to commit to it, and put my legs up high, and push up to drive the person down. I'm going to find the arm that I've got control of, and I'm going to put it wherever I can bend the elbow the best. And if I can go to this A position, I'll apply that one on too. Alright, let's try it. So this is going to break down what's actually happening. I'm using my legs to force him down to the floor, so he can't raise or move or lift. He will be able to arch, but that's it. So I've got hold of this arm, and I'm going to use either this thigh, that thigh, my leg, or some other part to hold this out so I can get the control. Depending on what angle this is at, I have to change what I'm doing. But it's very simple, it's stuff that we've already worked on. If I get it classic, like this, right, lay it down, right. Get it classic here like this, with the elbow joint hinging this way, then I need an upward force this way. But people roll and move, so you have to follow that roll and that movement, okay? If he turns this way, I have to do arm bar that way. If it's this way, I have to arm bar that way. I mean, it couldn't be more straightforward, right? So we have to follow them. Also, we have to use our body mechanics to make that work too. So if you come into the guard, like this, yeah, that's fine. I'm over. Right, so at the moment, let's just get rid of that one so you can see. At the moment, we've got a nice hinge, so as long as I keep that in line, then I can push my hips up and that will apply the pressure. But if it's this way around, then I've got nothing. Yeah? So I have to then turn into it. If it's this way around, it's hinging here, so I have to turn this way. This is obvious, isn't it, if you think about it? Wherever they go, that's not going to work. I have to turn into it. And I have to use the force of my body. So without adding, the movement is this. This won't work. I won't be able to get my leg over like this. That doesn't really work in the situation. So I have to pivot and turn, is what I have to do. From here, I use their arms to pivot myself. I have to pivot this leg and turn so I'm facing that direction. So it comes over. And then I'm going to push out, that'll take him down. I'm going to pop up with it. So not only have I got the control, I can see what's going on, I've also then got movement where I can rock back. Normally at this point, it's kind of sensible to put your feet flat if you can. You gain more control. You could be hitting and punching and moving. Make any alterations. Grab like a baseball bat control. And lever this way. This one here, I prefer it because in some ways it's safer against some of our laser counters, but keep it like this and go. If they move their elbow, then you might have to side crunch or side crunch this way, or even turn and put the lock on like that. Okay? As long as you find your body making that lever in the direction in the same force as the elbow. The human body can pretty much put force in any direction. You just got to make it happen. All right? Let's try. We'll work on some quick counters for this one. They're only temporary, but we'll make do with them. So if you go into the floor, if you go this direction to make it easier for the filming. So I'm here like this, and can you take that way?
Take you away.
Yeah. Maybe grab both arms. This one's the one you want. Okay, so the moment you feel it going on, I want you to make some kind of connection. Now, each one of these will have a different way of working. One works better than the other. So have an experiment with this, and then if you try and put the armbar on, there's too much force going against you, and it gives me a bit of time. I personally prefer a cable grip in this situation. I find it stronger. It's also less vulnerable to attack to the hands. Alright, so when you feel yourself going down, just grip and hold tight, and then it'll give you a bit of time to work on a way out of the situation. So as you're going down, just grip, and it'll give you that little bit of time, even if it's just 3 seconds for the person struggling. It's 3 seconds where you're not being locked. Okay, look at this simply, like this. So if you grip so you can not be removed, every different grip will have a different way out, every situation's got a different strength or weakness. I personally prefer to stick a foot in if I can, because then at least you've got a lot of force going on, haven't you? But let's just forget that for the moment, or just put a little bit on, like this. I can go up and down and add pressure into the blade, like this. This is quite a nice one against some people. Let go then. There you go, right. That's one. But if you have the cable grip the other way around, yeah, it works just as well, but can also, if you grab again, put your hand on the back of the person's hand, we'll turn it into that. Okay, if you go back to the cable grip the other way, this one's a little harder to put on actually, but you can reach over, and there's all sorts of things like thumb locks to apply. If you end up turning, you can try and just twist it out, or if you do it again, I can try and twist this in as I do it. Maybe try interlocking the fingers. It's pretty dangerous really, especially with this one. I just push down and cause a lot of pain that way. Any other grip? Every grip has a potential lock somewhere. Alright, so you grab again. Yeah, like this one. Rather than fighting this one, just go for that joint lock. So all these things are possible at high speed, you know, it doesn't matter what you do. There's always a lock. So it does work for a moment, but unless the person's really tuned in, there's always a way out of it to cause some other kind of injury. Alright, so let's just have an experiment. We play around with different finger locks, thumb locks, using a blade, twisting it out, okay? Wrist locks, you can make it happen. So we're going to look at this in a kind of a classical sense of how to use force. So if you go into your grip, whichever one the strongest is, cable grip's normally good. I'm going to put one foot on, or the other foot, or both feet, or whatever, but I'm going to use one foot, so I like to have one foot to control the move. Alright, a simple way is just to hook your hand in and grab your shoulder. Maybe grab this way, or maybe even grab it both. Whatever you want, okay? Like that's good. Like you're doing a figure 4 headlock. You can also have the same thing here. Figure 4 headlock on the arm, and then just use this force to go. This hand being on top is useful, because sometimes when you ping out of this, the hand will slap you in the face. So it's nice to have it, and also then you caught it there for the lock. Yeah, so again, you come this side, same thing, just push and heave. What I personally do, I take it into my own head, so I get more, I'm closer in, and out this way, and it will fall back nicely into the armbar. Okay, so use the whole of your body. The closer you get in, the more force you can push out. Right, let's try this. I prefer this one in many ways, because I think it's kind of useful, and if these go wrong. So normally I'd flip over this way to get the lock on, but actually if people fight you, resist, it's hard. So I'm going to put my foot against this hip. I'm going to use that to push out. I'm going to kick over as well. I'm going to turn this way. So I'm going to reverse it. It doesn't look very graceful. I don't feel very strong, and he's squashing me. But there's really no way out of that when someone gets you in that position. So, yeah. I'm up here, I can push out, I can kick over into this position, this way. Ideally, I'm totally flat. If I roll too much, it's going to put us in a technique we're going to use later on, like a chicken wing. So I'm up, I'm over, flip it over this way, and I've got the armbar. If it all goes a bit too pop that way, like this, and he ends up rolling, it puts me in a really awesome chicken wing position. Because of the nature of his hand, if you try and fight your way out of that position, it's really weak. And I can just hook myself in. I like this one. These two kind of fit together quite nicely. So all I'm doing is that rather than trying to move around the person and push back, because some people are strong, I get to this position, he's going to roll and push this way, then I take him out along this way. Yeah, I've lost the arm there, but if I rolled it, then I've got a lock. But it's hard to see because it's underneath. Let's push it against my thigh and apply the lock that way. Reverse armbar. You get your legs trapped, but you will break the person's arm fully. And I reckon you could probably wriggle out. You come into my guard. I'm just going to do a few more little arm bars from this position. Okay, I'll just say starting from here. It makes it simple. If I'm going to armbar one arm, I'm going to take it, but I don't want to indicate what's going on too much. I'm just going to kick my leg over. I'm going to try to relax so I can make it easy for you. I'm just going to push out. Now I'm not going to push against his throat. That's not really the relevant bit. I mean, I could be here, for instance, but I've got control over this arm. I pull it into me and I push, and the push on the thigh is what's making it work. If this was on the floor, I can also use that to lift up too. Okay? So anything where I trap the arm like that, and I can push down to lift. I've got that control. I can pin it. I can apply an armbar. They're not that difficult to find in this sort of position here. See? From here, I've got a control against it. I can just push up with my hip. Or if I end up in this position, I can take hold. I can use my foot on his hip. And I can push back this way to drag him down, you see, and lean forwards to push him up. So maybe try these two. So he's in this position, just come around and grab hold. You probably want to pull out of that one. I found the arm there. I'm going to push back on his hip there, or I take one hand, I fight for it, kick over, and I push up. It's two variations there. We're going to go back to the standing position and we're going to work on the figure 4 again. So you punch in, here I pat down, shoot through, come around, and I'm going to get the figure 4. But we're going to look at what happens if it all goes wrong or some variations around it, which we touched on. So if I come underneath, this one's nice, if you apply this one, you remember, but sort of things can go wrong. But I'm going to do, if you do turn around so we can get a better view. I'm going to do a takedown from this, I do like, I think it's a powerful one. From here, I come through, and I'm just going to heave the person around. And do it gently and slowly. Take the person over to the floor. I'm going to compress them like this. Put my knee on top of his head, here. And change my grip around and grab underneath. Right, so let's just change the angle so we can see what's going on there. It's not nice, right? Yeah. Okay. So this sort of thing has to be incredibly slowly. Grab. I step through. I use my hip like a hip throw, and I drag him around. I'm going to take him down gently. Okay. Keep this pressure on him. I've got a little bit of control in my head. Put my knee against his head. I'm going to change this over, so I grab underneath, and then from there I will squat up. Yeah. So without the person, so you can see. Come through, I have the neck, and do movements very much like a hip throw. It's going to cause him a lot of injuries. They go down. I place my knee onto his head. I've got some kind of grip here, it's useful, but I'm going to change this over and grab underneath. From there, I've got his neck, his head sandwiched underneath me, and an upward motion here. It's not much. It's going to add pressure this way. It's like a neck breaker. So if you just go on the floor, it's fine, yeah, come this way, it's good. Just roll facing that way. So let's start over. Right, you punch in. I'm going to take you down and put my knee on his head, and then I'm going to lift up. So if you can see, this grip and that lift, I put a lot of force in, but if I kneel on at the same time, then it causes the neck to break. So maybe try it, if you want to try it more aggressively, you just try that and look over and slide into it. Okay? Alright. So we could just look at this in a way as if you punch in. One thing I haven't covered, which is a simplistic version. I get my shoulder under his armpit, pushing his shoulder into his neck. If I was here, but just as easily I can go into the figure 4 here too. Okay, so I've got the figure 4 on. Now it works just as well with the shoulder into the neck. And from there, then I can spin it through into this position as well. Lean in. From here, I've also got an armbar if I choose to find it. Okay, so maybe just work through a figure 4 and apply an armbar at the end. There's other stuff, let's see what else there is. There's always bits and pieces to be from here. He's hooked his arm down, so now we can take the goose. We can lift that one up too. That's a nice one. Or even just compress as well. So there's lots of little bits you can do from there. Next one. So we're looking at what could go wrong, or what might go wrong with the figure 4. If you punch in, I go with the figure 4 this way, and the what ifs are, what if I'm stuck underneath, well I go with this one, and what if that one fails? So if you punch in, I do this, but this hand's right tight up against the head, you know, as a guard, and I'm like, oh man, I can't get anything here. Yeah, but it's still high, I can reach in underneath, and I can start going for the full Nelson. So that's another option. Depends how tight the movement is. Yeah, I'm here like this. I can't go here, or I end up here like this, then full Nelson is an option. If he doesn't comply, so don't let me get in, I've got nothing here, well then I can come over here, maybe, possibly, that might be an option. Or if not, we'll do the technique called bad girl, which is to drop the person back by their head. Didn't really do that, I did it with my arm. So, that's so cool. So from here, I come in, all goes wrong, I can't get anything. I've got this. I come around, I can't get the full Nelson. I can't get this one. He's in tight, which is what a lot of people fight like this. But there's different rules. Like if the person's got no hair, reach over and get hold of the eyebrow or the eye. And obviously not the eyebrow in terms of the hair, but in the eye or under the nose. Grab hold and just yank back and drop the person down that way. Okay, so let's not worry about full Nelson right now. Let's go for the technique we call bad girl, because it's a bad girl fight style. So we're going to work on a counter to this. So if I'm here like this and you grab hold of my head, okay, let's just grab with one hand to make it easier for everybody. Okay, I'm going to first of all do what we call a crash position, which is like that really. Now there's different ways to do it. This bone here, I'm going to wedge into the small bones in the back of his hand ideally. Okay, there. And I'll push down with it. It just causes a little pain and helps release the grip. Make a strong grip. Or I can go flat in, the whole hand. You hear a little clack, click noise? Yeah, it's the fingers clicking. So from here, I push down hard like this, the crash position. If anything, it stops me from having any pain. You pull my hair, it's going to cause me pain, I'm going to go back. In this position, I squat. At least if he pulls me, I can resist and I've got some force. From here, I'm going to spin. So from the crash position, we're going to spin. Either one way or the other, it's fine. And as long as you lock your low, your head's lower than the shoulder, it is guaranteed to lock them either in one direction or in another. If you want to damage the fingers, you've got to go halfway and push up, or the other way, halfway and push up. All the time you're doing that, you can also be doing other techniques too. If I was to throw a roundhouse kick in, a lot of force would go in with that. It would also turn my head, front kick. Yeah, I could be stamping in, underneath, and kicking. So if you lose your hands, just start kicking too. But we're going to carry on from the punch in and block out the way. Ideally, I'm going for the figure four, but these are all what ifs and what could go wrong. So we did the worst case scenario. I go for this one, I can't get through. But from here, I'm just going to take it through and go for the full Nelson. So just to show you how a full Nelson would work, you want to be underneath, you want to hook over the neck, and hooking over the neck is really useful because you can control what the person does with their head. I'm going to slide in on both sides, interlocking the fingers like this. There's different ways to do it, but applying pressure into the back of the head is probably the best way to do it. Also, I wouldn't just stand like this, I would drop down and ideally have the person in the full Nelson sat in front of me. Okay, so one hand in, other hand in, grab, control, sink and bring the person out. As you do it, forces the head forwards. Okay, so if you're in a fixed full Nelson position, it's not actually too hard to escape from. You can just straighten your arms and drop down, but no one's going to put you in that position. So if I keep punching or whatever, if I get you in full Nelson, I'm going to try and take you down. If I stayed here, he would eventually escape. I'm going to try and take you down and control you. Now, ideally, I just put my knee into his back and have some pressure and hold him if I needed to hold him. If I need to restrain him further, I can go back and I can just leg scissor or control this way. Control his size or go into a compression with the... You feel that?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Okay, so I'll hold this position. I wouldn't necessarily use this one. I'd probably have my feet out. I can still put the same pressure on. But in this position, with my head buried, like this, I could probably restrain someone for quite a while if I needed to. Okay, so see it more as a restraint. I don't think if you really force it a lot, it's going to do too much damage to the person. I think it makes sense. I did it suddenly, you dropped him hard, I might cause some damage. But the neck is strong and the arm isn't that strong in this position. But it's a nice hold, a nice way of controlling the person. If, for instance, yeah, you're in a situation you need to stop someone, but you need everyone else to clear off and run away. Okay, so let's look at some things we can do from this. If you get me in a full Nelson, obviously from this position it's not actually too bad. But if you take me down, and you sit me up, okay, now this is why I don't cross my legs, is because this toe here is vulnerable for attack, as is the other one. So from there I can toe lock him or ankle lock him. Okay? Yeah, so then you just bury it in, you can control me. If I put my feet over, I can still come up and lock you that way. So there is a vulnerability with this. with my thumbs I can go for the temples, but I just reach and have a feel. Once I know where he is, there's not much you can really do. Yeah? I'm not going to hurt you, but you try and resist. What I normally do though is to grab the person and direct it so I get the temple on the back of my head and compress, or twist and compress. Alright, so if we come up, I'll just show it standing. If you put me in full Nelson, I'd reach over and I'd grab some part of his head and drive my head into him anywhere, or using the thumb into the temple. Okay, so there's some options. There's other stuff you could do. If you do grab me and I'm on this position, I'm going to grab, it's going to jump and twist. Yeah? So at least I've got myself out of the position. Okay, so we find ourselves going for something here, for some reason it all fails, and I end up being behind the person. We've explored quite a few different ones. So if you come here like this, I'm just going to use a movement where I'm going to compress into the neck here. I do a rolling movement. It's a slight squeeze and I need to drop as well. So I'm going to compress the muscle, the tendon, the nerve, the arteries into the spine itself and drop down at the same time. I'll do it gently. Right. So from here I roll and I use this inner knuckle and drive it in with the compression and then push down. That's all it is. I'm not going to try and strangle the person. I'm just going to roll it in. I'll do it very gently, but I roll through, I add the leverage in and drop. It's an unusual technique, and you might not find yourself in that position, but it's good to know how it works, because you can apply it from the front, in grappling or whatever, if you need to add a bit more pressure. And it's to use the inside knuckle. So what would be the inside of that? Rolling in, pushing and squeezing and dropping. Next, it's the same thing, except we're going to take it to a greater conclusion. So you punch in and hit through, and I'm just going to, I might avoid you here, I'm just going to roll in. Now when I want to take the person down, it's hard to do it slowly, safely. It's hard to do it safely at all. I normally just walk my legs out. So if you offer me some resistance, like you don't want to go down, I gently just walk myself down this way. Yeah? Because everything's resting on his head. But it's going to have to resist for that to work. Otherwise, just spin your partner down and let them take themselves down nice and gently. But I'm not in a great position. I'm sort of stuck in the middle of him. It's still good. It's still good, but it's not good. It's not how I like it. So, from here, up, and then I leave. I apply the pressure until it suits me. See? And then from there it's harder for you to fight back. Nice and gently with your partner. This isn't fun. You resting the whole of your body on someone's neck, taking down. So you're going to punch in. Oh, it doesn't really work. Something else got in the way and happened. So I'm going to swing through and I'm going to hook in. So if you punch with the other hand, you can see easily. I go to block across and maybe I use the wrong hand or something like this. But I'm just going to swing this arm through and hit through with the blade onto the back of the arm. I'm also then going to pull across the head and bury his head into me, whether his hand's here or behind, it's fine. There's lots of things that can go wrong for the person in this position. Ideally, I'm across the temple, I'm sunk down, further arms down so he can't pull his head out, and I roll and I have the compression. But I can have the ear caught. I can get the eye socket caught, bridge of the nose, behind the jaw, all these different options. So I'm trying to get something, it doesn't work, I'm just going to hook over, hook in, and then compress. I can use a thumb, so swing it through, grab hold and squeeze. So I call it the bully. I call it the bully because it's the kind of classic school. If you call it nugget, yeah. Right, so from here, just work on that. You don't know how it's going to present itself. I go here, I go for a figure four, something doesn't work, I'm just going to hook over, leg in front, okay? Or leg behind, but you're kind of stuck leaning. Let's try it. So we don't really want that to happen to us. It's not good. It's hard to escape from. So, if I punch in and you bully me, that's it. And put it on. Now, I don't want to go down. I'm going to do, there's a few techniques I can do from here. I'm going to use my elbow against his hip and my knee against his thigh. I'm just going to add some pressure in, okay? That's one way. So if you come over this side, this, here, there, that's it. So just a little bit of pressure into the thigh is going to work. Now sandwich it here. That's one. Into the hip is another. Okay. The other option, which is if you put me in it, is to reach over with my hand. Okay. And then I can put my hand against his jaw. I stamp him and I push up. Now, if you put it on and you start walking forwards, once I'm in this position, and push me into me and walk forwards. Do the lot. Get me down to the floor. Once I'm on top, it's a lot harder for him to come back from that. But also, once it goes on from underneath, I'm going to hook back. Yeah? Luckily for me, it turned, I can guillotine. But if you just put me into it, I'm just going to reach over, I can put my thumb underneath his jaw, I'm going to push into the pressure point here, I can attack the face, I'm going to drive my knee in, I'm just going to straighten up. Okay? Just to hold out like that. There's a couple of additional bits and pieces if you put me in headlock, whatever side's fine. Like that. Other options are just to skin roll in, which is what we just did. That's what we just did, yeah. Okay. But from here, as I push out and I straighten up, I'm using my head to drive back, and that's going to force him to either tap or to twist. And if he twists, then I'm going to put him into the guillotine. It's only if he's got room to twist. So from here, I reach over. I can also use my thumb into the back of the calf. It just kind of came to me then. Okay, as well. I forgot that one. That's nice. Anyway, just it again. So anyway, I'm going to reach over. I could lift him. I could hit the groin. I'm going to come through. I'm going to let this one go so I can come underneath, and I'll put the guillotine on. And the guillotine uses a forearm blade into the throat, or if you tuck your chin into the chin, it's very simple, always works. Alright, so you're going to work the guillotine from standing, you're going to punch in, I'm going to block through, and I'm going to Superman through. So I find myself close, I'm going to jump through and get my armpit onto his shoulder, like this. It's important to have control of this other arm, but you can bring it back or do what you want with it, this arm. Yeah, so just move back like you're fighting. And if you do that, then obviously I've got control over it behind the back. I'm just going to grab it and pull it down. I'm going to push through and sink. It's very hard sometimes to drive someone down this way, so I keep the hand close to the body and I slide it up and I'll tilt them. I then hook underneath. If I can put it on one hand. If I can't, I'll put it on with the second one. I'm not too worried about this arm. I can control with the elbow, or I can just pop it over my head. So if I show you from the other side so you can see it a little clearer, I come through like this, pull in, long. I drive it, it won't work. I push into his hip, swing up and drop down. I've got something underneath. The lower I sink and the further I am away from, the better the lead will be. I don't have to worry about that anymore. It's not particularly, you probably hit me in the groin, but my hands are in front and I am here. But if I'm worried about that, I'll just tuck it under my head, tight. I don't think you can headlock me being in this angle anyway. And if you could, it'd be too late for the roll and the application, but also driving back just with the head would help put it on. Face all the time, here, in, put something on here, and then tap it in place. Don't worry too much about it, even if you don't get the hand, even if nothing's coming with this one at all. You can just use your body weight on the person. It's only if they're much bigger, much stronger, you need to drive it up. Okay, let's try. Okay, another variation. So as you punch in, I come through. Variations what to do with this rear arm as I push it through. I can hook it into a chicken wing. Okay? Let's try that. Let's try it again. Shoot through. Here. And just change it over. while it's on the back, if I can. If I can't, no big deal. Put it on here, and I can just apply the pressure through as well. So maybe try something with the hand. Lots of variations for the guillotine on the floor, and there's many counters to it as well. But let's just go for something really just dead simple. So if you come down and you're in my guard, I use my guard to pull you in and place my hand to the side. Once I've got one hand over, then if you kind of just struggle about a bit, it does put me in a good position. I can sneak this one through, and all I have to do is lift my arm to allow him some room for that arm to kind of try and escape that one through. And then I can hook in. All I have to do then is extend my legs to force the person backwards, and of course get a good tight grip on this one. Okay, so again, I bring the person in, I hook over, I've got the arm to fight if I need to. Okay, from here I want to free him up a bit, so then he's going to push off the floor, because no one likes to be down like that, and that helps me get my hand back in. I can go in, and on here, I don't just push and pull, which is good. I also twist. I'm going to do it loose. I also twist this way. Yeah? So here, I get his neck long, and I drive it in. Okay, so I'll show you about Adam. I use my legs to pull the person into me. Shooting to the side. I have to play a game of cat and mouse here, allowing him a mixture of escaping and moving and escaping and moving. Because it's hard to slide your hand underneath, but once I do, I get a strong position. It's hard for him to attack me. I push long, stretching his body out. But as I do that, I also twist in, like this. So I'm not just straight and arching, I'm straight arching and twisting. And that's going to fold him back in on his belt. You must twist to the side where the person's head is, or else it's going to do the opposite. It's just not going to work. Right, so you're going to work on a counter. If you put it down, like this. You're going to control me, and then put the lock onto me. And as a way of countering, I'm going to grab hold of his arm, like this. I'm going to push back. I'm going to drive this up. I'm going to create a chicken wing. That's all it is. Here, grab, lean. I can even go flat and twist if I wanted to put some pressure on him. I can drive my chest into him, tilt, and add the pressure up. Okay, so again, as it goes on, in, I feel it come over, and raise my shoulder, and apply that into a chicken wing. Alright, on the ground, the stance work for everything, and this is the simplest way to do it. So if you go into the guard, and I'm inside, you scissor me, but don't worry about the lock or anything. I'm like this, and I'm posted up here because it gives me some control. This middle position is the worst place for me to be. If I could step it back and keep him off, and have a little bit on here with the elbow, that would be good. Or, I'd want to be right in and on him, tight, like this. But I don't really want to be in this middle ground. But if I find myself in this middle ground, I'll change my foot position. Okay, if you maybe push me up or something, or hold me in place, like that. That's what I want to be in this middle ground. So if you go to guillotine me from here, I post up. It actually stops him from turning back to one thing. Yeah, it gives me the access to the hand. And if I want to, I'll lift off you so you don't get too squashed. You put the guillotine back on again. If I want to change position, I keep my leg out. And you see, look, I've got the guillotine and the chicken wing just from my shoulder. Doesn't always work so easily, but it's just a simple one. I take my base out. If I'm here though, it's harder. Once I post up, I can twist. If I want to get a powerful twist, I kick my leg through, and then I can turn using this or applying that. So maybe just try and see if you can put it on just with the shoulder, and with the change over with the legs. So I'm in this position here. I'm either back away from the person, use my elbows and my hands on the stomach, push them down, or I'm in tight on them here, really close. So if I'm in the middle ground, I recommend you take the legs out, gain some strength, and if you want to turn, it's not always the best thing to do, but keep your legs out twisted and along, and then you can control it. Okay? Alright, let's try this. Okay, so grab hold and pull down for the bad girl. If you grab hold of me, like this, and just spin and put it on. But sometimes things have gone a bit further than that, so I'm just going to crouch down like I'm being dragged. I'm a housewife being dragged through the house by her abusive husband, okay? This is the situation, I'm being pulled back. So I'm going to grab hold, maybe I'm sacked. Just pull me, I'm going to go tight, so you can really pull me. Come on, really go for it. There. Alright, let's try that again. This is new to me. Here, like this. I'm going to do it a bit higher up now. I'm going to try and take you down to the floor. So I'm not going to pull so hard here, but I don't want to break your wrist or anything. So if you pull back hard. Yeah. Alright, have a go at that. Grab on the hand, on the arm, make it safe for the first. The technique we call bagpipes. We're going to start off the most simplest way we can, and we're going to work from counter to counter to counter through this as we did yesterday with the mirror palms. So I'm going to cover first of all. I'm going to raise my hand up so my thumb is on one side and my fingers on the other. I'm going to bring it over the top. Take hold strong with this hand. Hold onto the wrist with this one. Bring my elbow on top, keeping his hand high, and I'm going to lean down. So you already know this already. Cover, open my hand out wide like this. So I can put my thumb on one side, my fingers on the other. Keep the lock on, elbow on top, strong tight grip, and drop. Of course, anyone looking at this thing, we could punch and kick, but we're doing this in an abstract form and an academic form. What I want you to make sure you do is make a grip here. And I see this a lot when new people do it. They don't know how to hold on to this point. So I want to make a strong grip here. And the lock itself is formed of three parts, and we'll go into some detail in a moment. One of them is pushing in, the other one is on the elbow, and the other one is a shoulder lock. Okay, so we're going to build on this technique now. We're going to take it into lots of different areas. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to try and achieve the same effect just from the wrist lock itself. Okay, so there's a few ways of doing it. I can just cover, grab, and then hand it over so that I'm only using the hand that was covering. And then I can apply a lock this way. So cover, hands here. This is going to help bend the wrist into place. Okay, and getting the right angle in that wrist is important. Let's show you from this angle. See, there's the right angle here. Gain control and keep my thumb off, and then I add pressure. Now, as his body moves, it will change where I'm applying the pressure here. But in some ways, if you know what you're doing, you can find it quite quickly. In fact, you can just do it straight off from there, just with this sideways motion. So cover, bend it in, grab tight, be strong, release this hand, and then see if you can find the lock with just one hand. Okay, it's going to improve the overall. So we're going to reduce this technique down even further. So I'm only going to do it with a turn. So I'm just going to grab hold like this. I'm just going to apply pressure, and do it slowly so you can see, into the joint. It doesn't matter which angle it's at. If I apply pressure into the joint, it'll work. It's just the case that the wrist will only bend so much one way. If you grab hold of me, same thing applies. I just need to turn. Yeah, just a certain quick turn. Back. Just that will do it. As long as the person is pivoted and held in place by me, and I find the right angle. If you move your elbow high, that won't work, you see? So I've got to then change the angle of it. If you put your elbow low, it's not going to work this way. It's just going to fold in a natural way. I have to then come up. Yeah? So wherever his elbow is, I want to force in the opposite direction to that elbow to make the lock work. So try it from different grabs. Okay, so let's look at another version of this. If you grab and hold, and some things are harder to get than others. You put your elbow really low. Yeah, I can do it. I can do it. A lot of body movement this way. I can still apply the pressure that direction. But you don't have to follow the elbow. You can make the elbow go wherever you want it to go before you lock it. So if I was just to pin it to my shoulder tight and raise my hand up high, brings his hand really close in. Okay, admittedly my hand's right up in the air, it looks a bit odd, but this is fine. Now change the angle of the elbow. You can put it any way you want. You can try and keep it low. But from there, the tension through the wrist is enough to create the pressure. So let's just try this one. Pin it, raise high, and then drop it down. This, people see the classical Kung Fu systems with these large movements with the hands up here. They think they have a lot of doubt over it. And when I first did it, I often thought, well, what is this all about? And how does this work in a fight? But actually, just changing the angle of the shoulder from being directly down to being directly up, it can have a huge influence on what's going on around the person. See? So let's just try that one. Next we're going to look at the elbow version of this. So if you grab hold, we go back to what we did before, cover, come over like this. Obviously the lock combines the wrist lock, an elbow lock, and also a shoulder lock as the person bends down. Okay, so we're going to now concentrate on making it work with the elbow lock alone. I suppose the best way to do that is to remove the need for the wrist lock. So perhaps rather than cover here. I don't recommend it because it's not great, but it's good to play around with it. So maybe just grab the wrist so that you can't even move the hand. Grab the wrist joint itself, come over and grip. So now I can't apply a wrist lock, but then I'm going to go onto the elbow, I'm going to heave up and push down. So you can do the other side. So just for the sake of this, grab the wrist, come over, same movement, except this time I'm not controlling the wrist lock. Grip tight, elbow high, hand high. Okay, his hand has to be high, higher than his shoulder or the same height. My elbow has to be high. I place it on there, and then I apply pressure in. It will be a slam. That's the simple form. We'll make it more complex in a moment. So you can't expect too much of a. You don't really want the person to tap out with this. So I'm grabbing hold as I was to completely control the lock on the elbow, but not worry too much about the hand. Now, I can apply, and all I'm going to do is get the person to move. There's little things you can do to make the person tap, but that comes with experience and knowledge. Right, so at the moment when you're doing it, don't worry if it's not tapping. For me to make the person tap with this, done slowly, I put tension in the elbow. I have to then force back this way. So I put energy down so the elbow's locked. I then drive into the person's root. And then I scoop it through. I don't know if I can do it just like this, we'll see. It's a small and subtle difference. And it's probably the only way you're going to get someone that's bigger and stronger than you down. And that maybe, Tom, you come up and help out. I'm just walk over and we'll apply it. So, from the wrist, I'm not going to do the lock. I'll just grab hold of the wrist. I'm in and over like this. Now I've got a good position. If you resist, give me some strength, because you're strong. Yeah? It'll drop. I'll do it gently now. But if you want to resist, I'm going to lean into him, let him think he's got it, apply the pressure, and then lean away. Okay? And it works. It does work. Alright. Okay, so again, as we said, from this position here, don't expect too much. But if you do that push-pull motion, it can force the pain. But what we will do is we'll do it at a more extreme speed. So if you grab hold, let's say you grab the crossover, here like this, just a sudden turn into the body, I mean there's the elbow lock there, is enough to damage the elbow. At high speed, with the whole body into it, you're going to snap the elbow. If you grab hold of my shoulder, here like this, yeah, just this motion, or if you did a crossover, it's fine, just hitting back into the elbow is enough, as long as you pin one side and you apply pressure the other way. If you punch in, just tapping into the elbow is enough. So let's just try that from the crossover grab. I think makes it easiest. It's just to grab hold and slam in. Yeah? Grab hold and just slam the body in. Or, how else can we do this one? Yeah, the shoulder one actually. Very simple. You just pin it however you want to your arm and just turn and hit the body in. So, yeah, go on. So pin it to your arm and just turn and slam into the elbow. Well, you'll find your way, but be nice to each other, so you don't want to hurt each other. But have a feel for the touch. Okay, so so we're looking at the technique we call the bagpipes, and we call it that because it has this movement here, and if you hold the hand, it should be close to your mouth as if you're playing an instrument. Okay, so that's why we call it this. We've applied the, we applied the wrist, we applied the wrist lock, we applied the elbow lock, and now we're going to work on the shoulder lock. And it takes a fair bit to apply the shoulder lock because the shoulder has to be taken to its extreme. So if you don't move your body, the shoulder lock's going to have to come to about here with no resistance. Okay, so I'm going to neglect the wrist lock. I'm not going to put too much emphasis on the elbow lock, even though I need it to steer. But I'm going to put my elbow further up just so we can work through the lock itself without doing the other ones. So I apply pressure until he's pretty much in line with my body. If I keep pushing, he'll go. But I want to take him down, lay him on his front, and then lean in. You may not get that far, but that's the extreme version. Putting a little tension through the wrist and the elbow, which I'm not going to do, will make it go on a lot quicker. So actually from here, even just turning back on himself will do it. So with your hands in this position, Choy, and going back this way or up that way, it's going to, see, I can go at any angle. I can go diagonal down, straight, diagonal up, all that will apply. So once you get the person to here, and even if he resists from there, going straight back will do it, going straight back this way will do it, and this way particularly will do it. Okay, so from that position, when you've got them here, you can angle it. And at speed, obviously, now I've got him here, if I want to, I'm pinning his shoulder against my hip so he can't go anywhere. If I push his hand this way, that's powerful. This way he's got a bit more movement. That way it will work with slightly less. Let's try. Okay, so every technique you do, obviously you want to maximize it. So we can put it all together. It's not going to guarantee it's going to work because some things will counteract and contradict itself. So as I cover, I apply pressure in, I take hold, I keep that pressure on through the elbow, pushing the wrist in, slamming into this one here, elbow lock, wrist lock, compression, all the way tight, and then into the shoulder. So I've got all of them going. And what you'll feel is you'll probably feel a huge stretch along the arm. And people that don't stretch out their arms often, aren't in the habit of really stretching out their arm, they'll feel it. And if you're lifting a lot of weights or you're doing even light weights or whatever, if you're doing that and not stretching out this one, you're going to feel it. You'll probably feel a bicep burn or something in the shoulder or along this line somewhere. So even if it's not the lock itself, I've done grappling with some really strong guys that do lift a lot of weights, and all you do is put in that sort of position and put pressure on the bicep, and it's going to be incredibly painful. So just be aware that if you go quick, you might not be the lock you're affecting. Your partner might get a searing pain along the arm. Alright, let's try this. So we're going to add some pressure points into this technique as well, just to kind of really consolidate it. So the first one I'm going to add into it is a push into the hand. And I call it the mason because originally I taught it from a handshake, and you can apply pressure into the pressure point this way. But the best way to use it is to weaken the grip, but more importantly not to lose your thumb. A lot of people will grab like this when they do any kind of job, but to feel it all the time. I'm always feeling the thumb slide into the person's palm like this, which isn't so bad, but if the person's savvy, they grab hold of it and you're in a weaker position. So putting your hand here like that is really useful. So press, and compress is going to help release the grip as well, and then bring it through. Alright, so try this one. So that's the position. Bigger on the other hand, you can see. The thumb's going to come into here, my hands to the other side, and I'll be gripping this way. And the way to find it on yourself is to lay your hand flat like this. You'll see a small mound of flesh. You want to try and find that in its most stable part and wedge it towards the bone that goes along here. And on yourself, do it and So wiggle around until you know you've got the position, you've got the feeling, get to know how that feels, and then start trying to find other people. The more people you practice this on, the better it is. Okay, it will improve. Next technique, I call this one the tiger's mouth. Okay, it's a powerful attack against the nerves, the tendon, and the artery at the inside of the wrist here. And I'll be using, it's hard to see, but if you imagine my thumb here, on the inside of the thumb, that little part of the end of the bone on the joint, it protrudes. I'm going to use that to rip around the person's arm, compressing it all in place and driving it through. And I'll show you myself. It's going to touch here, it's going to slide along and move everything across. And then at some point when you've got maximum pressure, it will force it through, it will flick it through. And that's where the pain goes. This is where it gets really painful. And it will make the hand hard to use, and it will give the person a kind of almost a nauseous feeling. So we're going to be nice to each other today. I'll demonstrate a few times without really even doing it. Okay, so when I'm in this position, that's good for the grip. It's not so good for the tiger's mouth. So knowing that I'm going to do that, I put my thumb here, just about here. Okay, so I cover, my thumb goes just here, and then I roll it back and around. So if I show you the other side, rather than placing it here, I'm going to place it a little lower, I'm going to put some pressure in, and it's going to drive back as I drive my hand back this way. So that's the movement. Up and back. So as I do it here, I just do a little squeeze. Now you're not going to get a sense for it from the camera. It's very hard to get a feel for it. You might get it if you practice this first time from the explanation. You might get something, but I'm going to make it clear to you from my teaching experience. You're going to get maybe 25% of the sensation that's possible. But when I come around and I show you, and if I do it to you, then you'll get a feel for how it should feel, and then you'll know what to achieve, right? Let's just try the tiger. So I said, in some ways, the wrist lock on this is more powerful, but you might not be experiencing it yet. There's ways to make it work for you. Okay, having a slight bend in the elbow is enough. Okay, but even if I don't have that slight bend in the elbow, the rotation this way and pull down is what's going to make it happen. So you keep your elbow straight. I'm going to move my fingers this way, one at a time. If I do it suddenly, which I can do, bam, it will work. But if I do it in a fluid motion, I increase the pressure. And it makes it more effective for my movement. So, cover, my elbows high, and I'm going to twist in like that. That's going to start the movement. I'm going to go with the little finger first, and I'm going to roll my hands over this way. And I'm going to continue that movement in. Okay, my elbow, body will start this movement as I'm rolling in this way. If the person bends the elbow too much, it'll work in my favour. Even more than that, then it's going to turn into that underneath movement we did yesterday. This side, cover, I come up and in, I lean through, and then I grab in. I don't even need to really grip. I just need to chop down and hook back. But the grip makes a difference. Okay, so there's two different ways to do it with this. You can put the lock on the pressure point, the mason. You can drive back here, and we're going to explore that in a moment. But now we're going to do the same joint lock just from the other grip. It will look pretty similar, but there's some changes. So I'm going to cover, I'm going to swing around, I'm going to come in, and that creates the right angle with the arm. I grip. I'm not going to go for the elbow lock on top this time. Okay, because first of all, his elbow's not all the way up. And second of all, with my shoulder here, I've got that attack if I need it. So, cover, grip, my shoulder, and then lean. Okay, it's going to be hard to get the shoulder lock, but if I put the pressure on, it will force him to move out of that one. Okay, so it's the same one, but minus the pressure in the shoulder, but it increases the pressure in the wrist, and it leads on to more complex ones. Let's work only now primarily with the wrist lock, and forget the elbow or even the later shoulder. So cover, swing up, step in to create the right angle, and just grip. You can just roll through as well. Sorry, just like that. Well, we're going to look at that later. We're going to look at this one in more detail, and all I'm seeing is it looks like you're playing the piano or something. It's got no real strength. I try and explain to you what's going on. So I come up, I bend, and my hand is in this position, this upright position, fingers up. Okay, and as I go with my little finger down, my hand's in this position, so I get this angle. And then when I use my ring finger, it takes it to this angle. Middle finger, index finger is almost turned over. Okay, so my hand's this way for the index finger, this way for the little finger. So it's not this that makes it work, it's the change in angle of the hand as I go into the lock. Yeah, I felt that. You felt it. Okay, so that's the first time I've ever done it like that, because I've never needed to explain it. So if you actually want to make it more efficient, actually, there we go, just go with something. Do this. Ah. Which is what I'm doing when I do this anyway. I often wondered how this works, it seems almost magical to me. So it's just increasing the force and changing the angle of the palm at the same time. Alright, doesn't look very tough. But then again, neither does this. So we're going to take this one out, and we're going to come through. Don't worry too much about the rolling motion. It's very successful. We're just going to turn it back now, so we get two right angles. So we're making a Z shape here, like this. So again, up, I step, which folds it one way, get the first right angle, take hold, step back, get the second right angle, and then I've got the Z lock, and I need to apply a small amount of pressure to make it work. Okay, this is the simplest way to make sense of it. I raise up, I step in, turn into a right angle, I turn his wrist to a right angle, take hold, I turn back to a right angle, so I get two right angles out of the movement, and then down. But in time, you'll be able to do that with the movement of the body in one step, and then apply the pressure here. Right. Okay, so we're going to go back to this technique, but we're going to do the same technique, just now, applying back to the same side grip. We'll add some extras to this. Remember what we did already? We've done the mason, we've got the tiger's mouth. I'm going to come up and over, but from this position, without fully committing to the turn, I'm going to slide down. I'm going to force the elbow to bend. This can be done at a high speed, really efficiently. And from here, the upward motion will apply the lock. Or if I keep this motion up and I do a downward motion, that will also equally apply the lock. So we'll try this one. And then we'll work some press points from there, and we'll do a thumb lock from there in a moment. But just from here, just find it. 5 minutes to kick, okay? Actually, 1 minute. If you want to do, if you know it and you can make it work, try and do it with just one hand. So we're going to put some joint locks, we're going to put some pressure points in this joint lock here. As I slide down, I'm going to aim into a pressure point just here. And below the lower part of the arm, above the joint, in here there's a few different pressure points. But if you push through between the two muscles here and reach in towards where the bone is, there's a pressure point. But there's also, if you go too low, there's it can send a sensation of a separation of the two bones pulling apart, okay, or wedging in towards the cartilage. There's a few along this arm. There's one further up just in here, which not everyone feels, it's not as apparent. Okay, there's that one I went for there, which I call the blacksmith, but then there's also pushing in as a divide between the joint itself. So when you do this one, you slide down, you just use these two fingers here just to pull in, and it's enough to really set the person off. Some people feel it more than others. And the one on the back here can reach in underneath into this area where we call it the funny bone. If you hit it, it traps that nerve and it causes the hand to spasm. And the tingle is in here, but you combine them all, plus the mason as well. Alright? Another additional one we're going to add in too is as I come in, I can trap the thumb. So I can apply a thumb lock here. So grab the mason, apply the thumb lock, go in for the tiger's mouth to reach through, pull it in, and apply all the rest of them. Because it's silly, right? Okay, but one of them or two of them will help. So we're going to work on some counters now. So I'm just going to put it on the knee. Oh, sweet, lovely. The first one happened. I did warn it happens a lot. Is the person's going to grip. Actually, I do set it up as well. So even if he goes for the control there, I can still reach in. Okay, so grab and hold the person's thumb on the way over is a good one. Let's do the other side so that they can see more easily. I'll slide into the thumb. Yeah, so once I get that thumb, you continue, you can try and get the whole movement. Here, actually letting him get more into the movement only improves the technique. People just click, it's fine.
So it's great.
That's alright. Okay. So yeah, here, just grab hold, but allow them to make themselves get into a worse position with it. As it comes on, then it's a stronger position for me to apply the lock. I've got it here, but I just drive it through. Okay, so just try and reach in, and try and also improve your technique so when you grab hold of me, I can do it so you can't grab my thumb. Yeah. Right. Okay, let's work this one now into a takedown. We discussed it earlier. I'm going to do it very simply. I'm not going to put too much into it. Here like this. I'm going to bring the person over in. I'm going to walk them away. If I walk them away, they'll go along onto the floor. Okay? And from here, I would do forward roll over it like this. Here, down, slam the person down, and then forwards roll. But even just from here, pressure my body against his arms enough to force the lock on. Hold and roll. That's it. And then snap. Kick it. Whatever. And move. The objective of this is I need to take someone down, I can use them, I can position them. This one's behind me. And as I do this one with a slap, drive the person in front of me. I can also push this way to snap the arm, and I've got a clear view of them. So do try and take the person down with your eyes up, with as little control or need on your arm as you can. Have your hands free. Okay? Right. Work on the same takedown, but we're going to apply it from just with the wrist lock. So just with the wrist lock here. We'll lay flat then. There we go. That's it. That's what we want to achieve. And if, it sounds cruel, right? But my goal is for my opponent to lay flat on the floor. Now you might refuse, but I'll just keep pulling you and twisting and pulling and twisting until you are flat, and I'll tell you to lay flat, because once someone lays flat, they're harder to do it. Yeah? Then you can get really, you can have that control. I don't want someone halfway up where they can escape. That only comes in a situation where you don't want to break the person's arm, the wrist, or their elbow. Okay, so if you look at it from a point of view of someone in security, they may want to control someone down to the floor and fully have control, cooperation, because you don't want a person up underneath, it's got more strength, but they don't want to constantly, you have to break people's arms and legs and whatever else to make it happen. Of course, in a real situation, you're fighting for something that's a bit more important. I have to slam hard and try and damage the person. It's fine. But do try now just to guide the person till they're flat. And you can tell them lay flat and keep twisting. Okay, we're going to move on now to some different bear hugs, how to apply bear hugs, how to escape in bear hugs. There's 8 variations with bear hugs really, just from a standing position. There's front, side. There's 6 variations. There's front, side, rear, arms pinned and arms free. Okay. Obviously, then there's stuff on the floor too. And each one will have a specific strength and weakness, and also how it fits. We'll start off from a rear bear hug. So if you just turn around, not that this happens very easily, but you will find yourself in a situation with the arms free. I'm going to come in, I'm going to pretty much go across the sternum, solar plexus here, like the hind leg. And grab hold and I squeeze, okay? Or I would grab lower and lift. So grab hold like this, pull in, squeeze, and lift. That's one way, alright? That's the simplest one. And it makes you feel weak when you lift it, you're not sure what to do. Okay, but we're not working on the counters to it, we're just actually working on the bear hug. So grab hold, squeeze and pull, and actually get good at doing it. If you can't do it, or you're too small, you can use the thumb, or the fist, or some of the knuckles to push in as well as you go through it. Okay, this one's designed really for a stronger, bigger person. It's important you learn how to do good bear hug before you then try to counter it, because it's easy to counter a rubbish bear hug. Right? You can just tense it. Alright, the next one. You go sideways. I'm going to do a side on bear hug with the arms free. I'm going to do like a rugby tackle with my shoulder into his floating rib. Okay, and some of the things we're going to look at are do's and don'ts and how to improve it. If I go this way, my groin's exposed. So I'm going to go this way. I'm going to shoot through long, like this. And you'll see the length of my arm, my head, along my spine and hip are all the same line. I put my head into his back. I would strike in my forearm against the floating rib this side, grab hold, reinforce, and apply the pressure. If you turn around so you can see the other way, I go through with this leg. It may put me slightly off balance, but it protects me from when he struggles. I go long in here, here, pull, I push my head in, and I compress. If you find it hard to get it, make this shape with the thumb and apply it into the rib too. That's why I'm barely touch you, feel it. Next one's front bear hug, but I wouldn't use it standing toe to toe. I think it works much better on the floor. So if we just go down on the floor, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're in my mat, in my guard, like this, actually if you go into the mount, it'd be better. When someone's up here like this, and you're trying to gain control, I'll pop them forwards, and they'll land in this position. From here, this is the only time I probably would use it. I put my shoulder into the solar plexus, I reach up, and I compress into the spine and the rib. I'll do it the other side so save you on that one. So I use the blade of the arm, and I'll pull in, I'll push in my shoulder, and I'll add the compression. It's a lot more powerful. Alright, so as we're resting back like this, I'll get you, and then after using that mode to take the person over. Alright? First try it from that position. It's gonna be a lot, because otherwise this is too weird. You're just gonna get punched in the hip, aren't you? Now this is a rear bear hug with the arms pinned. You put your hands by your side like that. It doesn't matter how you're going to trap them. It's a different type of bear hug. It will have a different feel. I come in, I go across the same area, and I squeeze. You bring your arms over around. There's a full trap there. But it just compresses and hurts. But these sort of things happen. Aren't necessarily going to make the person tap out or anything, but if you're fighting more than one person, and some of the tactics, it's very hard to fight back. Okay, so we're going to explore these not as a lock that I would use, but as a method of using it later on so you can escape from it. So try it. Next one's the sideways one with the arms pinned, so you can do like this. I do exactly the same movement, except my shoulder, ideally maybe go from elbow to elbow if you want the most control, or if you want to inflict some pain, you can go into the tricep on either side, or maybe shoulder to the elbow and tricep this side. You can get a nice, nasty tricep compression on it. Okay? So the same thing, come in and compress. This one will work a lot better from the side, okay? Because it's a painful position for the person. Bear hug in the front with the hands pinned. It's a funny one. It's not really ever going to come up, and if it does, well, the hands are there, so they just attack the groin. But what happens sometimes is the hands might be in like this when you're doing it. So if we go on the floor again, yeah, go on the mount, be like that. So maybe you just on me like that, and I'll just do this. It's not a great control. I've got some, but also I'm free from being headlocked or whatever, and I could use that then to post and roll over. So just try that as a restraint. but later on, to see, it's not great having the fingers right next to your mouth. Okay, let's give it a go. The simple ones. But let's try it now, this time with the hands pinned. Okay. Now imagine I'm being lifted out of sync, I would lean forwards my legs, and actually give myself a little bit more control. Now, some of the do's and don'ts, some of the things that people get wrong, if you come further up on my body with the lock, right, and then you squeeze, yeah, that works. But, you know, with a bit of force, you can pop out of that. Obviously then I'm in a headlock position, but if I'm quick, and I know what I'm doing, from there, I can get out this way, or if he's too low down, I can get an elbow out, and then I'm back into this position again. So let's get it right and neat across the elbows. I would sink, but I'm not going to, just for the sake of the video, make it easier. So see, from here I have to then negotiate this. It's a lot harder. Forget all that kind of hitting mark and all that kind of stuff that you see. I think it's going to cause a greater hazard for yourself. And the chances are, if it's done quick, you'll be up in the air anyway. So these sort of things have to fit up in the air. Now, depends on how well the person does their grips, is how easy it is for me to get to them. It's very hard to reach in. But there is always either the little finger or the thumb. There's either one or the other, it depends where his hand is. So just turn your hand out a little bit so you can see. I'm going to reach in and I'm going to grip hold the little finger. I'm going to squeeze it in and then twist it out. Yeah, so if you can bury it again back to normal. I'm going to reach in underneath. I'm going to get that one. It's going to take skill and time to be able to do that just through the sensation of touch. Okay, I could go for this one too, but the support of his own forearm against it makes it harder for me to get that lock. Okay, if you get really tight, it's harder for me to get in there. And I don't have to use one hand, I can use two. So I can reinforce with both, one or the other. Okay, the other variation is if you turn it around a bit more like that, the other way. So some people will do that, is then I can reach in and start trying to attack into the thumb as well. So if you do that one again, yeah, or the thumb's that way, I can reach under and I can pull into the thumb. I would recommend go for the thumb first. It's the best and the strongest one. It also causes the most pain, and if it breaks, it's going to be hard for them to hold on. The little finger breaks, sometimes it breaks and that's fine, you don't notice. Alright, so go for those two. Thumb here, if it's this way, if you flip your hands over, I'll go for the little finger there, one or the other. I suppose in some ways if you're doing this, neutral would be halfway. You could tuck your thumb in, something like extreme, or maybe just grab hold of the person's belt. Or if you come forwards, the other option is if you go for the bear hug here, so you put your arms a bit further forward, I go for the bear hug and hold the grab hold of his hand, yeah, causing a little bit more of a restraint, but still from there, I then offer this thumb up, you see? Yeah, that thumb becomes the weak one. Alright, okay, next one. Still from this position, I'm not going to bother sinking or anything, just grab me in my arms pin. Okay, depends on the length of your arm, what you can and can't do. From here, you can still put your thumb in and then reinforce and add some compression there, nice and tight. Or, what I am going to do is I'm going to jam my fingers into here. Okay, now, just alone like this is maybe not enough, but I can reinforce and drive in. So, make like a monkey grip into the middle area here, push in, and then reinforce. Yeah. Between these knuckles here, like that, there's a connective tissue. I'll show you in my other hand, it's not been broken. Here, like this, there's a connective tissue. When it's tense, when the fist is tense, and you push in, it causes a searing pain. And all you have to push in a little bit, well, obviously you drive through, the further it goes. When someone grips you, the hand to go for is the one on top, because it's the one that's most tense. Makes sense? And the moment that hand becomes weak from it, it'll open a bit, and that's when you can go for other locks, finger locks, or maybe just try and force your way out. Okay, let's call this one the bottle opener, because the motion of putting it on is a rocking motion like this, just like opening a bottle. Arms pinned. Now, if my arms are a bit further around the back, like this, I can't reach anything, but I can reach the groin. So you attack the groin. I don't need to teach you how to do that, but there are techniques, right? This right here. The other one is skin roll. If I'm sort of halfway in front and behind, squeeze tight, and I can't reach the groin, I can't reach it, but I can reach the thigh. I'm going to reach, I'm going to try and find a soft bit of the tissue, and I'll roll. Skin roll is simple. It grabs, first of all, a small amount, and then it heaves over this way. So grip one, grip two, and then roll it over. And I didn't know at first exactly what was happening until I taught a self-defense course to a bunch of physios, and they're very excited by all this. And they explained to me, obviously, the tissue in the body is made of many layers. So there's bone, muscle, fat, and different layers of skin. And through that, the nerves run. They run from all the way through to the top. And what we're doing is we're gripping a few layers in one go, and then ripping and separating the layers apart. So as the layers shift, like an earthquake for the body, as the layers shift, the nerves that run through those layers get ripped. Yeah? And it creates that searing hot pain as you rip through the nerves or pull the nerve through the two different layers. So fat and muscle, or skin and fat. And I think skin and fat's the best bit. You have to grip really tight through fat and muscle. So aim for a bit which has got a loose bit of skin and a little bit of fat under it, and roll. So these areas in here work really well. Side of the body. If you did it to the armpit, it hurt a lot, back of the arm. Okay, so it's the sideways bear hug with the arms free. Now we talked about his position and how to get into a good strong position. Okay, this is a nice position because actually from here I can't attack the groin. If you drop your head down lower, I actually can't even hit him. Okay, I can barely reach around. Yeah, I still can't quite reach the face. So there's a lot of very good techniques from there. So if you just go into a rubbish version, maybe if I put your head this side and your leg in between, like that, then obviously, I'm just gonna do some of the earlier techniques that we've got. Yeah, it's not, it's strong-ish against someone that's not just psyched up or aware of what's going on. So put yourself in the best position possible, and it depends on how tall the person is and how this is going to work. I'm going to go into what we call the trigger points back here, and there's lots of ways to do it. One of them is just to use the knobbly part of the elbow, and it depends on the individual arm. I'm just pushing. Some people that have an office job where they're using the computer all the time will find their shoulders are tense, the scapula's a tense situation. It will work very well. But if you're going to fight someone that's a farmer who's been working the fields, it's not going to work in the same way. So you can put it on there, reinforce it, pull away, and just drive in. Okay? If for some reason you go back into this place, I don't know, they're wearing body armor across the back of their neck, right? Hook underneath, like this. Go back to this strong position we worked on the other day. Get strong at it. Yeah, so go like this, and then lean, and you actually are going to force this one up. So that's a nice one, if these don't work. In fact, it might be wise, the moment they grab, is just to go into this position anyway, just to start to reinforce, and then to go in that way. Alright. Okay, next one. So we're back here. Some people are very strong, you can't reach in, you refuse to move. So we're going to attack into this nerve in here with the thumb. Now you can't get it, just roll it around. But you should be able to get it. Or if you keep going like this, do the same thing into the tricep. Both of them will work. Or if you do it one more time, where I am here like that, if I can't get anything, I've actually got a spot on skin roll there too. Alright, so I'll do one more. Oh, brilliant. Like this. Because it's all in front of you, isn't it? So it's just laid out. Reacting at speed with that and sinking might be hard, but it gives you options. Right? So try those. Do the sideways bear hug now with the arms pinned. Like this. In the same manner, he's avoided the threshold of pain that could happen with his head's here, his groin's here. But if you go a little lower on my arm, that's the best place to be. If you're too high up, like that, I've got this movement. But if you go lower, you obviously squeeze it tight, so elbow to elbow. I've actually only got my arms to move like this. I can't change the angle and change the direction. I'm going to lean, I'm going to sink and lean away from the person. And you're only going to get that for a second. I'm using my hand against my thigh or against my other hand here to lock myself in place. Go a little higher so you lose it. Right, there you go, nice and tight. Like that. Now, my elbow, I'm going to try and direct my elbow into the person. At the moment my elbow is facing me, I want to try and shift away and rotate my elbow around. So if my hand is this way around, it actually becomes easier. And then I lever back into the person. I'm going to start moving forwards and backwards. So I'll show you what it's like about the person. Like this, I sink and I lean, it creates some distance. My elbow is pinned in, I need to rotate it out. So I twist it, grab hold of my own hand, I pin it into my body. And then the force of pushing back, as much as my wrist looks weak, it's not weak, that's painful for the person into the areas of the body I'm going. I'm going to then start moving up and up. I'm sure some of you covered this before, but areas we're going to go into, depends where our solar plexus works nice. Anywhere in the pec will hurt, but up here is clusters of nerves, they are painful. Onto the clavicle is painful. Onto the throat, normally works. And by that time your hand's free. And if it's free, you can do all the rest of the techniques we just did. So it's like a car jack movement. I'm just going to raise up higher and higher until my hand's free or until the person gives. We're going to go back to the bear hugs and we're going to do the front bear hug, but we're doing them off the floor. So actually you go down the floor. Cross a little bit that way. Yeah, that's good. Now on top here like this. You push me forwards, I drop down, and you're gonna bear hug me in. So there's a few things that we can do from here. If I slide my feet in, because what happens is he's gonna control my legs. If I slide my feet in here, I can drive down and I can push off the floor that way. Right? So keep up again. You squeeze. I post down, and I have pressure this way. Okay. I can do that as well. You go for the lock again, and I can push into the head. And control the person that way. Alright, let's try that. So it's like a spinal lock. We're going to do some other grabs from behind rather than the bear hug, whatever else. If you grab both my wrists like this, there's different ways in and out of this one. And a good one is to lean, drop, and just push like this. Also, to bring the person forwards to the same movement and body slam into them. Just make sure you feel, I don't want to hurt you right here. You know, push into the person this way with a bit of a shock. So, forwards, lean, stamp it this way. But just be aware that if you go too high, you'll be forcing the person around you into whatever's going to come next. So see if you can get the snap. Later, we'll do a crossover, so if you cross my arms over and pull them apart, pull them as far opposite as you can. This is going to be a tricky one to get out, but we'll do that one in a moment too. We can do a crossover behind the person's back. We call this one a prison, because it feels like you've been kept prisoner with your hand behind your back. It's going to be pretty tricky to see, so I'll try and break it down. So Adam's in this position, like this. What we're going to do is I'm going to take you through a process and I'm going to open it out so you can see. The hand closest to your body, you're going to clamp to you. So the moment this round, if you change your hands over, Adam, I'm like this, then I'll be clamping this hand to my body. Okay. And what I'm going to do is going to require some movement on my part, moving to fake it. I put my hand, my thumb, on his forearm, keeping this on pins. I'm turning to get my thumb on his forearm. It's just so I've got a target. I'm going to slide it down. I'm going to reach over. I'm going to grab hold of his thumb. So if we change your hands over, like that, I feel whichever one's closest to me, I pin that to my hip. I make some kind of movement, and I put my thumb against his arm, obviously not that far up, but just enough to slide down, touch and grab. Let's change again so you can see. Yeah. No, there we go. So I can feel this is the arm that's closest to me. I pin it to me. I'm turning and moving like I'm struggling, but I'm not really struggling. I'm trying to get my thumb on top. Obviously, it's not done tight, so you can see for the camera. I reach down and I slide back here. I hook underneath. I'm just going to grab hold whatever I can and compress that thumb. So identify which hand is closest to you and pin that to your body. Reach up and slide along and then grab hold of the thumb and do it like you're pulling the trigger of a gun. Next lot of the techniques we're going to be in our guard, where we do some controls, some counters, and some changes from that position. So you can I'm in the guard here. If you get the I'm just on here. Maybe let's just always start like this. Okay, we've done a few from this position now, but we're going to do some. Rather than me say, oh, first of all you must put the leg here, then put this leg here, then move the arm out, and then adjust here. We're just going to find an easy way into it to teach it. And one common mistake that people get when they're grappling for the first time is the person in the Adam's position feels like they've got some strength and control and they're in a good position. And very often, I've experienced a lot, I don't know why they do it, but they'll just try and hook your leg over like this. It probably makes them feel strong and makes them think they've got some kind of control. But from here, I'm going to go into a leg triangle, which means I'm going to have to use this foot on his hip to lift myself up high, drop my leg down, and I'm going to pull my foot in. There's different ways to pull and hook. Okay, but I recommend just pull and hook in here, and then throw your other leg over the top. Okay, you can grab hold of your own foot here and hook it underneath, and that creates like a lever. Okay, let's just do the other side, so it's easier for them to see. As you are, it's fine. Just hook this leg.
Sorry.
Yeah, so from here, now, it's not an easy position to be in. I don't really feel like I've got any strength, but I can push up high, bring it down. I can pull in and hook my leg like this. This arm's in the way, but it's no big deal right now. I'm going to come over the top. Now, I might not be able to get a full triangle like this at first. I might end up being in a kind of scissory position, which is fine, because I can use my arms to fight like this. This arm's in the way. Now, I can move that arm quite easily by shifting it to the other side of my legs. And then I can concentrate on moving this down. And once I get that tight seal, and my foot's in, and it's got the freedom, then the compression is enough to tap the person out. Yeah, so I'm sorry about that. Take it again slowly, one more time. He just makes the mistake of lifting one leg up. I'll use my leg to control and pull over. I don't worry too much about this arm, because I can move it out of the way, if it's here, by pushing straight and then bringing it back down. Get the triangle on. Things to avoid are, don't try and put it on using your own toe crank. Okay? And if you only get a scissor, then maneuver it and work it slowly. Obviously, the more flexibility you've got in your hips, and the longer your legs are, the easier it's going to be to get around someone's head. If you've got short legs with no flexibility in their hips against someone with a ginormous head and neck, it's going to be tricky, but you can still do the scissors, right? So, let's just get ourselves into that triangle. If we go for this side, it's probably just as good. Now, we talked about not being able to reach it. Okay, you're going to pull this arm across. I've got like a scissor here. If I can't get it across this way, it's because his shoulder's in the way. But maybe I can get it this direction. If I can't get it that direction, I need to adjust and try again, and maybe take it this direction. So I can either swap one or the other. It doesn't really matter. If his head's in the way, I can start pushing his head out of the way, one way or the other. If I can't get enough force in it, if someone's resisting, I just hook my own leg. I push against it. Yeah, I can hook this direction. It's fine. I've also got the arm bar from earlier. If I loosen this up, I'll go into the scissor instead. Okay. Sliding my hand underneath. I would be in a triangle, but I'm just going to take it easy. I've got the arm bar there. I've got push in. I've got a neck crank. So try a neck crank and try the arm bar from there too. Alright, but what I recommend is once, if you don't mind, one more time, you push one up. Yeah. Once you can get a good triangle on, put your foot on the person's hips if you're strong and stable. This is pulled across. I just have to roll. So I've got an arm bar here. If I roll it over, then I'm on top. I've got the arm bar, I've got the control, and I can be striking that way too. Okay, I don't really want to be lying on the back, do I? I want to be kneeling up on the person's face with an arm bar, choking them out and looking at what's going on. So it can be a bit difficult to get your legs out in that situation, but it's fine. Alright, let's try the neck crank and the arm bar from that position. Okay, so adding the econ on the floor here like this. We're going to work on 2 escapes. You go slightly this side. Yeah, that's good. Alright, so from here, I'm just going to put you in the triangle. Take your time. Make sure it's in well and good. That's it. Maybe take control of this arm too. That'd be good. Alright, so we're in this position here. He's got it on well, a little bit of force, and you could probably get the tap. I'm going to reach up with this foot here. My thigh is going to go over his ankle, and I'm going to apply pressure in. Yeah, so that's almost like a Turkish leg lock. And the other variation is with this hand. Oh, that's fight for it maybe, but it doesn't matter how it's going to go. I slide along. I go underneath the clavicle with 2 fingers, and I pull back on it to create pressure too. I could combine the 2. And I'll no doubt have to falls out like that one. So hook your foot over, hook your leg over against his foot. Slide along, see things and pull down, wrenching the collarbone off. Collarbone's really strong this way, okay? It's not so great that way, but it's still, in a way, armoured for the body, but it's not really designed to be pulled on. There's no part of nature where you'd be like using the collarbone and an outward force. So hooking in, you can get right underneath it and pull. You should just pop the collarbone off. Adam. So when would it be good to hook the hand under and go for this, like this? So I'm here like this. If I'm halfway through stepping over, I'm gaining some control here, obviously be resisting, but this would be a good point to then launch forwards and get a stretch. Yeah? So if we're in the guard, I'm in your guard like this, somehow or other I manage to push down, step a little bit. Okay, and we're fighting away, you're pushing back, maybe you push me back, I can hook underneath. Okay, legs are strong, but if I can go along here, then I can get the split in the hip. So let's just try it on. You can give it whatever name you want. Go back into that triangle position, like this, so you can just hook that over like that. So just to look at some variations. If you can't get the leg scissors, fine, you can pull across and we can crank as well. But let's go back to here, just the standard one. Before the other day we did the armbar, where I'm trying to come up and trying to armbar the person. And we looked at lots of what ifs. So let's say for instance this one's free, and I go to do it here. What if I get a kind of scissor on his arm? I haven't got the strength, he's got the force, but I'm going to roll him over and bring my hand and leg through, so we get a kind of chicken wing after it. It depends how he rolls. Now look, it's really loose, but actually if you try and do anything, it's very hard for him to apply anything. So we'll work on that kind of chicken wing with the leg position. So I'm here, I go for standard arm bar we did the other day, and he rolls. That's too easy for me. So I've got the arm bar then. Right, see I've got the arm bar. So you're going to be a bit stronger than that. 2 arms, that's fine, yeah. Here, I'm going to go for the arm bar, but you're going to be a little stronger with this arm. That's it. See? If he's a little stronger, if I have to go the other direction. So this is more a case of what ifs. If it all goes fine and I got the arm bar, see, I'm going to try and arm bar this one. I come up, I come over, I push long, and I've got my arm bar. Yeah, that's simple. But if it goes wrong, he's too strong, I feel crowded, he resists, and I roll, then there's this one here. See? This one, which is a chicken wing. So you're either going to get one or the other. Depends on how he falls and how he rolls. So, it's not something I can say, oh, you must do this to achieve this technique. It's more a case that people roll and move differently. So this one's going to roll over this way. It depends on how he feels he can naturally escape from it. So let's just try and put this one. Simple stuff then. We're just going to do the legs. So if you come into the guard, like this. Now, a lot of people make a lot of mistakes with leg scissors. They think it's just enough to cross the legs and to squeeze the legs in, which doesn't really do anything. I have to squeeze push the feet out. At the same time, I have to adjust so that I'm in a stronger position. I want the bone of my inside of my knee against this floating rib. And I need to push up and out to apply the pressure. Okay, so simple, like this. I'm going to move my legs into a strong position and then apply the pressure. This is going to be easy for a lot of you, so watch out for each other's ribs because it will hurt. But just try and get it good and then we can add more and more layers to that, okay? And Adam's going to put me in the scissors. This is going to pull me in. There's a few different ways to escape from this, and one of the best ones is just to sink back. It makes your waist a bit wider, it brings his legs further up, and then that's the simple one. So from here, when they put it onto you, just sink it back and try that one first. Alright, give it a go. So I'm here like this, in this position. I will just hook the person's neck so I've got some control. I go to scissor, you're going to lay your feet flat, and you're going to sit back. Okay, it widens the hip. It makes it harder for them to, and I can't put this on. But what I can do from here is just to reach in and put my thumbs in and then apply the pressure. So just like this, but rather than go through that whole process, just from the leg scissors, you can't get it. Just slide your fists in. It doesn't have to be thumbs, any kind, like this. Slide your fists in and then add the pressure. Okay, so I'll show you what it looks like from here. I go for my leg scissors, it doesn't work. I just open a bit, slide my fists in, and then leg scissor again. It's just going to push those in, or even better, like this. Right. Just like scorpion's pincers. You put me in the standard scissors. Okay, so I'm in the scissors like this. I'm just going to try and get out. There's loads of ways out with the scissors, okay? And if you put it on, just even sort of slightly tilting my waist to the side is going to give me a moment or two. I'm going to bring my hand back. I'm just going to push it onto his rib cage, either side. I'm going to put my elbows into just near the femoral artery. I'm just going to drive in. It's not a case of just driving in. I also want to add a pressure this way into the leg as well. And by doing that, as I push down, I can direct his leg over and then I can step partially through as well. Okay, so simple stuff. I place my hands on his stomach, I lean back, wedge my elbows into his just here, point next to the femoral artery. I push in. But that's not just enough. I need to get some pressure onto my legs. And I think posting up one leg is good because it helps twist you, it gives a little compression so I can push and that will slide around and I'll be able to come over across his thigh. And the next technique we'll do from we call the calf cutter. And with the blade of the calf, blade of the shin, I'm going to cut into his leg. Alright, let's try this. Okay, so I'm going to scissors here like this. So I'm just going to put one. Go for it. Go for it. That's good. I'm going to turn off to the side slightly. It's going to give me a moment. I'm going to come into what we call the rock. I'm going to start wedging it in. And as I drive it through and push it down, you see now my shin is lined up to here with his calf. As I reach over, I've got some pressure, but I have to flatten my foot off at the back. And then apply the pressure into the calf. You feel it? Yeah. Right. So one more time. Like this. Go to the scissors, twist it out. I come in, fight my way through, and then as I'm reaching over, I then apply the compression on the calf with the shin. Alright? Once we come down, let's just assume that I've broken the lock here. I'm going to slide around, I'm going to grab hold here, like this. There's lots of different ones from here, but there's different ways to do it. I prefer not to lay back too much in case I'm fighting more than one person. I don't want to be stuck laying on the back. So there's two variations I teach from here. The first one cuts across the, three variations actually, cuts across the Achilles here with the blade of the arm. Okay, I lean back or raise up and I apply it. You can also push down on the knee too and just roll it. Okay, that's number one. Number two is a sharper version of that using the thumb underneath and just driving it. Okay, that's how it hurts too. And if you go further back and don't worry too much about the arm, you can just apply pressure into stretching the toe. This, toe this way. So it's got the toe, you've got the Achilles, and you've got the back of the calf, all of which work nicely. Put your hand on the knee, it's actually a really quick shortcut. Alright, you've got lots of variations of stretching the person's neck, controlling their head. I'm going to teach you a really simple one just so you can get into the habit of it. It's actually in a strong and dominant position. So if you go on the floor, yeah, just as good, and just like on your back. Nice. Let's start over, right? If you just get yourself here. Perfect. Right. So, simple neck stretcher. From here, I'm going to be in the mount position. Okay, just don't worry about what the person's doing. I'm just teaching it academically. Everybody will have a small, well, not everyone, some people don't, have a small groove here. Okay, I'm going to aim to slot my hand underneath it. Once I get my hand underneath there, then I can start controlling the person. So from here, I'm going to be wedging in like this. And it will happen. Eventually you'll get yourself in this position. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shift back and put my shoulder on his chest. Okay, and then I'm going to drive forwards with the shoulder into his neck. At the same time as gripping, pushing this into the knob on the back of his head. And I'm moving this out the way, I would grab here so you can see. And I'm going to push back with my legs against his upper hip. So here, and there. So I'm stretching the whole length of the spine out. Okay, so you hop off Adam, I'll show you. So do it. I'm in, and down. I would grab hold. I sink down low and drive my shoulder in. At the same time, I'm driving back with my legs, the inside of my knee against his hip. On top of this pelvis, pushing down. Okay, so I'm trying to stretch the spine and push the neck long, controlling the knob along the back and under the jaw with the shoulder. Okay, let's try. The second variation on this, if you come into my guard, it's going to feel like more of a spine stretch. So I'm going to just gently scissor up. I don't really need much. And then I'm just going to put my forearm against the knobbly bit on the back of his head. If I can, I'll put my shoulder under his chin, but it doesn't matter if you don't. Yeah, I can just turn it to the side, I'll do it gently so I'm not hurting you. Like this, I'm just controlling the head, and I just push back with my legs. And I'm stretching the head that way. So if you do it the other side, I don't really have to put much force into it. You can just put it gently here and hold it as long as the head's not moving. And then push back and stretch the length of the spine. Obviously, combine that with the shoulder into the jaw, into the nose, to the eye socket. Pushing here is going to have much more of an effect. But this one, just take the whole length of the spine and just stretch it. Okay. If some of you aren't feeling like the length of the spine stretching, you're just feeling this part, it's probably because that's the weakest bit of the spine that you've got hold of as well. So we'll do another one. It's not amazing, but it will stretch the spine. So Adam, if you just sit on the floor facing that way, yeah, this is probably the easiest setup for it. You do find yourself in this position in grappling, but actually, to be honest, you want to get into a stronger lock than that. You're going to grab around the waist and pull back this way, and then I even got a click there, which is good. And then push down and push up. All right. So that will stretch the length of the spine in a straight line. All right, let's try that. So we're working the spine still, and it was, I want to feel the spine go in a couple of different ways. So we do a technique called the cobra, and we do a technique called, I think it's the wrestler. I think we call that because it's a simple wrestling one. If you just lay on the floor normally, yeah, like this. It's not the easiest one to get into, so the setup's a bit funny. But I'm here like this. Like a double leg guillotine. I'm going to flip him over. This is the best way into it. So I'm just going to take you over. That's it. I'm going to step across. Now, please be very careful each of you. You might want to just take over the knees to make it easier. Walk yourself backwards, but don't fall. Yeah? Oh, let me get your spine straight. I don't want to hurt you. Right, there we go. And then gently lean back. Yeah? Look how safe I am. Safe bet. What we don't want is for you to be like this, and then damage the person. Right, let's try it. Lay on the floor as you were. I'll go through this one again, and I'll just put it into the next one's up from here. Flip the person over. Crack! Okay? But as they are like this, if I'm this way around, the other variation It's not pleasant. You could do it in 2 different ways. Depends how flexible they are. Grabbing the top of the head is the best one. And obviously that gets the neck. Or you can just grab over the shoulders, sitting on the hip, and then just arch them back, which is a fantastic stretch. All right, let's try it. Okay, so we're going to do a technique I call a break down to next. You put one leg forwards as a guard. Okay, that's great. I'm here like this, and we'll do it very slowly so you can see. I would jump in, actually, and your distance in this, I'd jump in, and I'd kick through this way to the leg scissors. Classic, kung fu move. Use the shin against the base of his ankle. I'm going to kick into here. Now, it can all get a bit out of control here, but with skill and experience, you'll get it to work. What, are your knees alright?
Yeah.
Okay, I take this person down here, like this. Their knees on the floor. I've got control there. And I continue to roll. I continue to roll. There is a lock here. Yeah, but I put it on by posting up. There. Right? That's the breakdowns. Again. Come in. And I come over this way. Alright? So, without Adam, it looks like this. That's it. And then you've got the lock on the person. Alright, so get the Adam, just lay on his stomach. I'm just going to take you through go this way so you can see the camera easily, right? I'm going to just take you through the Turkish leg lock. We've done it lots of ways, and we did it just then with a breakdancer. But if you fold someone's leg in like this, most people are going to feel it, but it depends how flexible the knee is. So the Turkish one has different variations. The main one is to fold the leg across, like the leg triangle earlier, but then to drive it through. Other variations are, you just stick your own leg in the way. Yeah? So anything that causes that restriction is all we're after. So try it now in some different ways. Okay, so you're going to work on some other applications. We'll do them standard and make them simple. So strangling someone, it's very useful. There's lots of different ways to do it. And the classic way you see in the movies, I'm not too keen on, which is just sort of forcing in or just squeezing. But what we do is a shape like this. So we do a squeeze in this direction and a squeeze in that direction and combine them out. To get the thumb in and around one side of the Adam's apple, in and around the other side of the Adam's apple, you squeeze in. I don't need to do it. But like this, here and here, and just squeeze the other side. So try it to yourself first. Put your thumb here, grab across and wrench it one way, and try the other side, and then behind the two. Adam's apple is strong. Obviously the throat's strong as well. It's designed for an impact this way, because this sort of things happen. If it wasn't designed for that, then we wouldn't have. If you believe in evolution, we wouldn't have evolved to be quite the people we are if every time we walked into a tree like that, it killed us, collapsed the windpipe, okay? But it's not too often you're going to be walking or running sideways into a sharp stick this way. It's going to do more damage. And not one from both directions, okay? So that's what we're aiming for, is forcing in from both directions, something which the body's not designed to do. Most of martial arts is designed to take what is natural in the body and then turn it against you. The fist doesn't fit into the eye socket. The eye socket's designed for when people hit each other with fists, but a leopard fist, a smaller fist, or a finger, or a knuckle, or something like this will fit into the eye socket easier. So this one's a good one. Obviously, people don't always go fingers to the eyes, because when most people get angry, they tense up, and the fists make this shape. Anyway, so here, push, squeeze, and compress. One, we're going to attack the leg and the foot in different ways. So you just put yourself into a stance, and we use my footwork to attack his leg. We've kind of, in a way, covered this somehow already. But from here, going in, I can compress into the Achilles, and as I keep going, I take the person down, just dropping in is going to cause pressure into the Achilles. Obviously, it's Achilles guillotine, just done with the shin. So it's the same lock we've done before, but it's very effective to know how to trap someone on the floor and apply pressure into them. Right? Just a few more. If you come back and like this really obvious pressure point, poke into the eyes with your thumbs, like that. Everyone just cup the hands and hit either ear, like that, will deafen the person. Like that, knock them out. I've had it done to me, it's not very nice. With this part, the knuckle here, hitting in either side of the temple, or your thumbs, or your fists on both temples. That does a lot. And we're going to do a spinal lock. If you grab my shoulders, like this, I'm going to slip in, I'm going to skin roll, I'm going to thrust up like this, and I'm going to lock the spine, and for an added extra twist, we're going to twist it too. Alright, and if you do that, it'll make a severe tension through the neck, and it's a nice technique. So, up, in, spin. You put the fingers in the eyes, think about clapping the ears, think about hitting the temples. Okay, other variation we want to do is to wedge the jaw one side and the head the other. So if you're in close, just pushing in opposite directions into the jaw, on the floor, whatever, causes a lot of pain to the person. Okay, so there's a few things there. Open the eyes. Don't need to practice that with your partner, right? Clapping in the ear, well, you don't need to practice that. If you want to, you can just find a corner and practice your clapping. Alright, hitting the temples, don't need to do that. But the nice spinal lock this way, front and back, is good. With the rotation is good. Grabbing low and hitting high is more powerful than grabbing middle and hitting the middle, okay? And you can try a compression. So we force the jaw out. It's something to do possibly on the floor. Maybe with the knee is also quite a good one too. Just a few more. If you come back and like this really obvious pressure point, poking for the eyes with your thumbs, like that. Everyone just cup the hands and hit either ear, like that, will deafen the person. Like that, knock them out. I've had it done to me, it's not very nice. With this part, the knuckle here, hitting in either side of the temple, or your thumbs, or your fists on both temples. That does a lot. And we're going to do a spinal lock. If you grab my shoulders, like this, I'm going to slip in, I'm going to skin roll, I'm going to thrust up like this, and I'm going to lock the spine, and for an added extra twist, we're going to twist it too. Alright, and if you do that, it'll make a severe tension through the neck, and it's a nice technique. So, up, in, spin. You put the fingers in the eyes, think about clapping the ears, think about hitting the temples. Okay, other variation we want to do is to wedge the jaw one side and the head the other. So if you're in close, just pushing in opposite directions into the jaw, on the floor, whatever, causes a lot of pain to the person. Okay, so there's a few things there. Open the eyes. Don't need to practice that with your partner, right? Clapping in the ear, well, you don't need to practice that. If you want to, you can just find a corner and practice your clapping. Alright, hitting the temples, don't need to do that. But the nice spinal lock this way, front and back, is good. With the rotation is good. Grabbing low and hitting high is more powerful than grabbing middle and hitting the middle, okay? And you can try a compression. So we force the jaw out. It's something to do possibly on the floor. Maybe with the knee is also quite a good one too.